Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia, Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit, clueless to the title of the biggest bus gag hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say, so thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Let me know right out of the gate. Let me know if you've had this happen to you when you're in the middle of a fantasy football draft. And at this point, you've probably had at least one. Maybe you've got a couple more coming up before we get to the NFL kickoff tomorrow night as we welcome you into the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. I'm Mike. That's Gene. You can listen to us in the Odyssey app. You can watch us on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. You can hear us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Last night we had our work league, our house league, and it's, I'm close with you guys. We see you guys every day. You're in it. Pizza Dude is in it. Tim is our commissioner, one of our sales managers upstairs. Great guy, gracious host. We're at his house. We're all hanging out. We're having a couple of cold ones. We're eating pizza. We're eating wings. We're ready for the draft to start, and we're going. We're in it, right? And we get to a point. It's a super flex league, which means if you're not a fantasy player, you can draft and start more than one quarterback. And usually in a super flex leagues, quarterbacks go fast. They go fast and furious, and there's runs. And so I had the number 2 pick. Felt good about taking Jalen Hurts with the number 2 pick. Could have taken McCaffrey, but I know the value that quarterback presents in this league. I didn't want to wait because if I would have taken McCaffrey too, my first quarterback would have been at the end of the second round.
Which is leaving you with Matthew Stafford or somebody like that.
Potentially.
Right? Yeah.
We get to round 4 or 5, and I'm maybe like one of 2 or 3 teams that have only drafted one quarterback. And I feel good about Jalen Hurts. I like that pick. But I know I have to get my second quarterback now, because if I don't get my second quarterback now, I'm going to be left with Gardner Minshew or Derek Carr. Like guys you're just not excited about because they don't have that kind of pop, that kind of upside. And there's only one name that I'm looking at on the list of quarterbacks that are available to me, and I'm like, I'm going to hate my team. I'm going to hate my team this year. I know this is the right move, but I'm going to hate my team because I don't like this player. Whether or not he can play this year remains to be seen. Whether or not he'll return to his former self remains to be seen. I just don't like the guy. And I drafted him anyways, Deshaun Watson. Gene, you ever have a team that you hate because of who you've drafted on that team?
Of course. And I'll back you up. Like, who else was on the board there at that point for your second quarterback?
Nobody.
Where they just get gobbled up in a
mentioned
super
Tim, the commissioner. He went until the very last round to draft his second quarterback because Bo Nix was there. And he went with Bo Nix. And I suppose I could have done something like that.
You could have done something like that. And irony here is, for me, Danger, is that I've streamed quarterbacks too. And then one year I drafted a rookie and it worked until he broke his leg. I would have been Deshaun Watson. So you're not talking about this from I don't like Cleveland's style of offense. I don't like his
like the player. I don't like the guy.
You don't like him as a man.
That's
you don't
right.
like him and
I
what
don't
he
want to
stands
have a
for.
sexual predator in my flex position all season long. So I did it, and I'm like, God, now I hate my team, and I got a lot of things that I like about it.
Dude, how is this different than choosing any team in this league? And if you say, my team doesn't have a player like that, okay.
You're saying that inevitably you're going to end up drafting somebody that you might not agree with their character and you might not like that person or that player.
Yeah. I know we're going to get to this, okay? Hey, you want to talk about the biggest misdirection of all time by the Buffalo Bills? Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, what they did today is a huge misdirection. It's kind of building off of what you're saying there.
Yeah. I felt great about my team until I made that pick, and then I tried to salvage it with a couple of other moves, and I really don't know. But just that weighed on me more than anything. I'm leaving the draft. I'm like, I didn't want that guy, and I had to take him, and I didn't want to take him. But I felt like he probably gives me the best chance to win, and we don't know what he's going to be. We talk about fantasy football, and I could probably do 3 hours just on fantasy football alone, but we'll condense it down for you later this hour when we're joined by Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy Sports.
So we will try to get you set for your lineup every week. So beginning not this week, but next week, Andy will join us every Friday. Every Friday at 3:25, Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, does the show on Thursday night. He's going to do the show on Sunday. He's got a lot going on. If you do any fantasy research whatsoever, you're going to come across the name Andy Behrens. We're lucky to have this relationship with Andy. So Andy will help us optimize our lineups every Friday. Now, in advance of that, because we have a game tomorrow night, we're going to be talking to Andy here coming up at 3:25. There's a lot of questions out there. Cincinnati, San Francisco, running back situations.
I'm irrationally excited for the kickoff tomorrow night. Maybe my expectations are out of whack, but I just feel like it's going to be fun, high scoring, explosive. I hate to say this. Like Andy Reid showing off Xavier Worthy wouldn't surprise me. Like if you see Xavier Worthy having a big game in his debut, like that wouldn't shock me.
I am excited about tomorrow night in part because I get to watch it a little bit. Friday just has a weird vibe to me.
Yeah.
It's two good teams. And hear me out on this. Like, if a team goes overseas to London, see the Buffalo Bills, generally football isn't that great. So I know there's not that big a time change, but you're changing continents. Everything's going to be different. How is the quality of football going to be Friday night? That game I have low expectations for, Philly and Green Bay, even though those are two very good teams.
Feels like a giant experiment to kick off the regular season for those two teams. And speaking of the kickoff tomorrow night, we're going to kick off the NFL season at our home away from home. Our friends from Three Heads Brewing inviting us over tomorrow afternoon from 3 until 6. We're inviting you over to Three Heads in the neighborhood of the Arts on Atlantic Avenue because we're there from 3 until 6 broadcasting live, and you know that they've got the great new Leaping Hazy IPA. It's your new favorite beer to watch your favorite team this football season. As I toe the line here and not say anything I'm supposed to say, the lawyers are listening. The Leaping IPA, it soars above all others, like a linebacker. It just soars above that linebacker.
So, like, you're talking about going above the bar there, the linebacker?
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah, even more. And also, while we're there, our friends from Reservoir Dogs, they're all beef, Black Angus Franks. They're 6-ounce burgers. They're mafia dog. I've talked about this week. Served on a pretzel roll with buffalo chicken wing dip, blue cheese crumbles, applewood smoked bacon, fresh bruschetta, and scallions. Or if I was Giada De Laurentiis, I would overpronounce the hell out of that word. I would say bruschetta. All regular menu items named after characters from the Reservoir Dogs movie, one of my favorites. Reservoir Dogs there as well at Three Heads tomorrow afternoon. We're there from 3 until 6.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
And we're going to kick off the NFL week. I can't wait.
You can make your RSVPs now. We know some people there.
We have some regulars showing up?
Yeah, we got some regulars. We got the Gordon family coming out. We have somebody I haven't met. Well, actually, I did meet, and I don't remember. Brian.
Oh, Brian. Yeah, big-time Brian.
Big-time Brian's coming.
We got to make amends. We got to make sure you buy him a cold one.
You know what would be funny if, like, Carlos came out? Because I
it just becomes a big timers club.
Big timers
yeah.
club. Yeah.
Three Heads becomes Gene's big timers club, and it's all the people that Gene has big timed over the course of time. One guy that we know we'll talk to as well from Three Heads, the Minister of Mayhem, Jeff Dale, will be stopping by as well. He's got big ideas about what the Raiders could be this year. He's a big Raider guy. He shared one of his takes with me.
And certainly we're going to get to the Bills news of the day here in a second. We'll tell you who's going to be coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. But part of that too, Danger, is we can reset our bold predictions. We have all this show. If you didn't get in yesterday, write to us, The Fan Rochester, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Bold predictions. One of my bold predictions, and I'm sure Jeff will not like this, that the Raiders will be picking first overall in the 2025 draft.
Yeah, it's bold prediction season. I saw Orlovsky making the rounds, and he was saying that he actually believes that the Raiders will trade Devontae Adams to the Jets before the trade deadline this season to get a high draft pick, a first-round draft pick, and they will find a way to draft first overall because they'll be the worst team in the league. Mm-hmm. They'll pick first overall. They'll take Shedeur Sanders, and then they'll use that second pick that they acquired in the Devontae Adams deal to get Travis Hunter. So they'll double down on the Colorado Buffalo Stars.
Now that's super, super bold. And I don't know if Sanders is number 1 overall worthy at this point.
Well, we'll see. But yeah. I loved it's a bold take season, so we want to hear you share your bold take for the NFL season at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. He actually said Commanders win the NFC East. I have them as a playoff team. He has them winning the NFC East.
That's very bold. Very bold.
Put your name on it.
And listening to Maggie Gray, first coach fired. We didn't do first coach fired. Maybe we could do that tomorrow at some point. You want to take a guess who she has as the first coach fired? I'll give you a hint. It's a team we respect, we hold in high regard. It's a team that made the playoffs last year, that's made the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I'm talking about Philadelphia.
Oh.
Well, you normally don't see that, a team in contention. Like baseball or certainly the NHL, hey, you're not living up to expectations. It's normally when the team is down and out, let's move on here.
I like that, though, and I don't feel like it's too far-fetched when you hear some of the rumblings about the relationship between the head coach and the quarterback. Quarterback's pretty important, and if you're the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, you might want to have a relationship with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and I would think that Vic Fangio would be the guy that could just kind of, even though it didn't go great for him in Denver, but he didn't really have a quarterback in Denver. And, he's been with the Eagles not just this year. He was a consultant, leading into a gig at Miami.
We have a saying here in the sports bar that nobody cares when you're right. Like, we sit here and we make these bold predictions, and we make predictions on a game every week or a performance every week, whatever it is. We might nail it, be exactly on point, and nobody cares. People don't care when you're right. They only want to tell you when you're wrong. They want to tell you how wildly inaccurate you are. Like, I don't want the Bills to finish the season with 8 wins, but I'm predicting them to finish the season with 8 wins. If I'm wrong, do you know how many people will rub that in my nose in that? Not remember the times where I've been right about this team. Nobody remembers when you and I predicted that when Sean McDermott started Nathan Peterman, we're like, he's not even going to finish the first half. Like, we were accurate, right? I only want to tell you when you're wrong. Now, I only bring that saying up that nobody cares when you're right because our guest in the 4 o'clock hour is doing a victory lap today, and that's 13 Web Sports' Dan Fates. Dan Fates, who day 1 of training camp saw DeMar Hamlin and said, that's your week 1 starter at safety for the Buffalo Bills. And here we are.
Here we are, which I thought at some point, all right, you brought in Mike Edwards from Kansas City, but Edwards with the shoulder couldn't get himself on the field. Oh, and then Cole Bishop, a guy that eventually will take over. That's going to be a story tonight when you get home if you're watching ESPN or whatever content you'll read online. Damar Hamlin literally back from the dead, and now he's a starter for the Buffalo Bills. And I would ask you this question, Danger, because to me, I thought it was egregious last year. I don't normally get worked up about awards, but the comeback player of the year, the guy was dead, and he came back. And yes, did he? Well, he didn't contribute that much, Gene, so therefore he really shouldn't have won. They gave it to Joe Flacco. Okay, so if Damar Hamlin starts the majority of games for the Buffalo Bills this year, ends up with 3 interceptions and a forced fumble, Can he win the award this year?
We just have short-term memory, man. No,
Well,
he's not winning it. He's not going to win it this year because I don't think he's going to be your starter for the entirety of the season. I think this is a little placeholder. You get him an opportunity. He's there early in the season, but when Cole Bishop is up to speed, Cole Bishop's your guy. You drafted him in the second round. He's going to be your guy.
Yeah, so as soon as Hamlin looks a little out of play, or the way DeMar Hamlin plays, though, I mean, will he stay healthy?
That's lots of big question marks. I mean, it's an unbelievable story, and to hear Sean McDermott talk about it in his press conference today, it's kind of it's hard not to feel like, oh, this is great. How can you not be excited about the return of DeMar Hamlin? This is McDermott earlier on Hamlin getting the start at safety.
Yeah, I think it's consistency and opportunity, right? So the opportunity that was there, he took advantage of it and was consistent. Built, a certain level of rapport with T-Rap, and that's important as well at the safety position. So watching those two communicate, and so anxious to watch both of them play this weekend.
All right, I'm going to upset somebody. This is by default. Mike Edwards is back. He's healthy. I think it's just a trust issue at this point that DeMar Hamlin has more reps, more snaps. This is predating the injury. That's what this is. He was healthy. The other guys weren't this camp. So this shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah. Well, the hard work and the recovery and everything that has happened for him over the course of the last, 20 months now. It's a pretty remarkable story, and at minimum, it'll be great seeing him on the field with a little bit more frequency than we did last year when he only appeared in 5 games, plays a special teamer, didn't start in any of those games. He'll get a start week 1 here against Cardinals. It doesn't help. It doesn't inspire confidence. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, well, that's the answer. That's going to make things better for the Bills' defense. But you're right. The thing that he has is trust. At least he knows the defense. He knows where he needs to be. I just worry about there's having trust in him, but does he have the ability, the talent to prevent those big plays from happening? Because I think when you talk about the Cardinals, all the visions we have the visions are all the big play. It's the Hail Murray. That's the only thing we remember from our.
That was the last time these two teams met one another, and it was two safeties that we held in high regard. Neither one of them knew how to play that ball correctly. Anyhow.
The other bit of Bills news today is they named their team captains. I was wondering when this was going to come about because you're seeing it throughout the league. Teams just posting on social media. We've named our captains. Captains here, captains there. And, I think it was in Miami. Our friend Marcel Louis-Jacques pointing out, I think the Dolphins are going with 8 captains this year. And, you could look at that and you could be like, well, why didn't everybody get a C? 8 captains. I mean, the Bills have traditionally carried 8 captains or more, have they not?
No, they've never gone higher than 8.
8 has been the
eight was the high last year. And the danger, they went down to 2 this year. Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard. Now, you could say this is good. There's a caveat here, big asterisk. There's a leadership council.
I love that.
The leadership council consists of 10 Bills players. Like, what issue comes up? Okay, we need to have a meeting of the leadership council. Bong.
We're going to get together. We're going to decide how we're going to celebrate this week's win. We're going to work on the culture. So order pizza. Can we order pizza? Let's just order pizza. You hear about these leadership boards, like, culture clubs and leadership boards. Like, we're just going to throw pizza at the problem.
Honestly, this feels like a sticker, a participation where, like, look, you weren't a captain, but will you be part of our leadership council? Freaking everybody should be part of it. You're part of the team. Like, you're a professional. This is a misdirection. Getting back to what the misdirection is.
Tell me.
Okay. So, last year, 8 captains. Can anybody name the 8 captains of the Buffalo Bills?
Let me try.
Okay.
Josh Allen.
Yes.
Tyler Matakevich.
Yes, that's the tough one.
Matt Milano.
No.
Sheesh. Okay. Mitch Morse.
Yes. 3.
Deion Dawkins?
No.
That's right. He wasn't. Okay. I got 3.
You got 3.
Hayden Poyer.
Yep. 4, 5. 2 other guys on offense who are no longer here.
Oh, Diggs was 1.
Yeah.
Davis was 1.
This is the 8th guy. The 8th guy is actually on the team. this
Tyler
year.
Bass.
No.
Oh.
No. You couldn't name Von Miller a captain
right,
again.
right.
Von Miller was a captain last year.
Yeah.
Now, to get everybody up to speed, where did we leave off with this story in Dallas, Texas? You remember the one where, yeah,
The Von Miller story.
Yeah, the one where he's accused of domestic violence.
But then it kind of goes away, and no charges were filed. And
Right, and according to the agent of Von Miller, that the case, the investigation is closed. Okay, and by that, Von Miller, speaking at training camp, I guess this is the way the Bills were talking about it. And sure, good for Von that it's case closed, but you couldn't possibly go with a captain, and now all of a sudden Von isn't a captain. This kind of makes the issue of Von Miller shouldn't be a captain, but we're going to make it go away because, we were at 8 and a lot of these guys are gone. We're just going to go down to 2. That's the only reason Von Miller isn't a captain, because what he did last year was anti-captain. What he did last year was a huge beyond distraction of what he was accused of doing. That's terrible. So you can't have that guy as a captain. He's part of the team. He's under contract. He renegotiated his contract. And furthermore, if you talk about his play on the field, it wasn't really good last year, was it?
Right. No, it wasn't. They go with 2. And I'm happy for Bernard to get his first shot at being a team captain. I think this is Allen's 6th season as a team captain, if I'm not mistaken.
They did name him year 1, so yeah.
Well, the guy that started in place of him his rookie year, week 1 against the Ravens, you remember that rookie season of Josh Allen?
Nathan Peterman.
Nathan Peterman just will not die.
Oh, no. I'm not.
He will not go away.
Where is he?
The Atlanta Falcons have signed Nathan Peterman to their practice squad. Don't worry, folks. If you want to know where Nathan Peterman is at, we've got a tracker on him. For the sake of the show, we always need to know where Peterman is at. Atlanta.
Okay, there's got to be some sort of connection.
Cousins, Penix, Peterman. Peterman on the practice squad. Cousins and Penix will be your active quarterbacks on game day. You're looking for a connection? Who's the offensive coordinator?
Who is the offensive
It's
coordinator?
a young guy, I think, from
Zach Robinson.
I want to say from the McVay coaching tree.
Okay, yeah.
No.
No, but where's the connection there? I don't see. No, can't be that.
Quarterbacks coach?
Who is the quarterback coach? I'm learning a lot about the Atlanta Falcons. Is there a team we don't know anything about, year in and year out? It's got to be, I don't know. Maybe
we know that
somebody
Thor
knows.
thinks that their GM should lose his job.
The guy who's running that room, Terry Fontenot, he does that every single year. He just torches assets. This is the 4th straight year that they've had a top 8 pick. In those 4 years, he's taken a tight end, he's taken a running back. Now he's taken a guy who will be a multi-year backup quarterback, and by the time he can finally get a chance, his rookie contract's going to be done. He's going to be closing in on 30. Terry Fontenot, in my opinion, should have been fired on the spot. I think that there's a really good chance that he has overseen his last draft process.
It's our Take the Year nominee there by Thor Nystrom.
I found the connection, Danger.
Tell me.
Who is the quarterback coach for the Atlanta Falcons? It's actually a former Buffalo Bill. T.J. Yates. You don't even remember T.J. Yates as a Bills quarterback, mind you, because he was barely here. The year was 2016. In 2016, he comes in, and he's part of the room with Tyrod and the aforementioned Nathan Peterman.
Peterman was drafted in 2016? No. Was he 27? When was he drafted? Hang on. I got that information. He was drafted
2017.
in 2017.
Oh, no. Excuse me. Okay. Yates spent 7 seasons with the NFL quarterback playing with the Texans, 2015-2017, Falcons 2014, Dolphins 2016, the Bills 2017.
There we have it. Now we're on point.
Now there we go.
There you go. Yeah, so
Oh my
yeah,
God.
his rookie year, TJ Yates is mentoring and tutoring a young rookie 5th-round pick named Nathan Peterman, and now Nathan Peterman gets to be a part of that quarterback room.
I think Nathan Peterman should teach business classes. when it comes to networking and keeping in contact with people, and when it comes to things like that, because wherever I'm sure Yates was along the way, he's planting seeds. He's texting, hey, coach, congratulations on your job here. Congratulations on your job there.
And you know what else? We have a lot of fun around Nathan Peterman, but by all accounts, he's probably a really good dude. Like, he's probably just a really good dude, like a guy that you'd want to have a beer with, that you'd want to talk football with, that you'd want somebody, he will be a coach. Like, he'll follow the path of a TJ Yates, a guy that you never got traction as a quarterback in the NFL, but would probably make for a good coach.
Nathan Peterman someday will be Buffalo Bills quarterback coach.
Oh,
Nathan Peterman.
Boy.
There's no question.
Oh, no. Wow. You're probably right. You're probably right. Brace yourself.
I had no idea that Peterman landed in Atlanta, but wait a second. That's not random. What is the connection? That's the connection. TJ Yates. Boy, some of these names.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get back on the fantasy football field and talk a little week 1. The season kicks off tomorrow night in Kansas City with the champs hosting the Ravens. What does Yahoo Fantasy Sports' Andy Behrens think the outcome of that game will be? And how are you dealing with Jamar Chase? Granted, we have him back on the practice field today. Reports have him fully suited up with helmet on the practice field. So maybe this is much ado about nothing. Maybe a deal is getting done. Maybe we're just waiting on the terms of that deal that might have been finalized. What to make of Jamar Chase as we head into the fantasy football season? Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, stops by the sports bar next on The Fan.
Bills back at practice today. Head coach Sean McDermott announcing that Damar Hamlin will start at safety next to Taylor Rapp. McDermott with the announcement on who will be the captains.
Captains-wise, I know that's for some of you a question that you'll want to know the answer to. So our captains this year, helping lead our football team, will be Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard, and then around them will also be placed a leadership group or council of 10 other players, which will help lead our football team.
We'll talk more Bills in the 4 p.m. hour. Dan Bates, 13 Wham. Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings go with one of their alter egos tonight, the Coco Locos, hosting Worcester. One game in the majors, Kyle Schwarber with a leadoff homer, his 32nd of the year. They trail Toronto 2-1, still in the first. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester, getting you ready to win your fantasy football league. And to do that, we talk to the best and the brightest minds out there sharing their ideas and their thoughts with you, like Andy Barron's from Yahoo Fantasy, who joins us regularly through the course of the season. Andy, we are on the eve of the NFL kickoff, and we still have some unresolved issues around the NFL. How are you, and how are you dealing with Jamar Chase?
Well, first of all, I don't know that I am among the best or the brightest, and I'm certainly not guaranteeing anybody a win, but I am I'm doing well. I am ready for the regular season to be here. It's always the weeks and months that lead up to the regular season kickoff are always unpredictable and fun, but weird. So I'm glad to be in the season long rhythm now. Chase has been a tough one because this is a lot of time away from a team that he's obviously perfectly familiar with, right? Like we shouldn't have to worry that much about what it looks like when Jamar Chase actually returns to the Bengals, which of course should happen. Like I don't know. I feel like it's a provable mistake to allow any kind of work stoppage, hold out, hold in, whatever we want to call it, like to drag into the regular season. That sort of thing can change the trajectory of a career. Not that Jamar Chase is at the same point in his career that like Le'Veon Bell was, but it doesn't. It's not generally a great move. It's certainly not a great look. I'm still drafting him in the first round. I would just be shocked if the team or the player allowed this thing to drag deep into the season. It seems crazy to me. It very rarely happens, so I'm not going to panic about it.
Andy, there's one other story that did get resolved, but sometimes you see soft tissue injuries. I'm worrying about Brandon Ayuk. Do you have any concerns about Ayuk or the 49er offense just kind of picking up where they left off here?
No, again, it's one of those teams. I mean, you should be concerned about the Jets in week one, right? Like they're facing a very, very good defense in opening week, and that, we could end up seeing like a 17-16 game, a 17-14 game, a weird score game, something like that. That's very much in play. But I'm not unusually concerned about a team that obviously made a deep postseason run last year that has year-to-year continuity. I feel worse about the Niners if they were a team that was trying to sort of reinvent itself on the fly, but they are not. This is the cast of characters that we had last year. They finally get Trent Williams, back in the mix. They finally get Christian McCaffrey back in the mix. If there's anything to worry about with Brandon Ayuk, it's that he had to do it last year on extreme efficiency, and he was great. He's a great player. But there's not a path to like 160 targets for Brandon Ayuk. He's not a volume guy. That's just simply not going to happen in Kyle Shanahan's system. So he's going to have to do a lot with a little, which he's fully capable of doing. I view him as a very solid wide receiver too. I'd play him right away without much hesitation.
Andy, when we talk about offenses that we want to grab shares of and be invested in, the Vikings offense isn't really one of them, even though there are some talented skill position players there, and you're going to fight through Sam Darnold this season. But what does that mean for a Justin Jefferson? What does it mean for an Aaron Jones? Knowing that you have a head coach who's historically performed well
regardless of who the quarterback is, you've got Nick Mullins was a thing last year for a moment in time in Kevin O'Connell's offense. So how worried are you, or should you be worried about your Justin Jefferson, your Aaron Jones, your Jordan Addisons, your Minnesota assets?
I will say Nick Mullins is just a different category of quarterback. He's the most YOLO ball quarterback that you're ever going to see, right? He'll put any pass up for grabs. He'll put the ball in harm's way, and he'll do it frequently. But he'll do it in the name of giving playmakers a chance to make plays, which we generally love in fantasy. Nick Mullins is pretty much always good for 3 or 4 throws every game that either should be picked off, are picked off, could be picked off. He's a risk taker to a reckless extent, but we like it when guys like that. If we have to have a bad quarterback that controls an offense, I'll take a guy like Nick Mullins. Sam Darnold just hasn't been accurate over the course of his career. He's never really challenged, a 60% completion rate in a league where, we set the bar at like 70% for being great. So there are some problems here. The thing is, we just saw Justin Jefferson produce 1,000-yard season in like 10 games and with mostly terrible quarterback play. So I'm not panicky about Justin Jefferson, but I do think, Justin Jefferson for the rest of his career basically is going to be a guy that we look at and think, well, things go right, he can reach 2,000 yards. But I don't think that's in play this year. I think the normal ceiling that you will perceive for Justin Jefferson is not there. I think a great Justin Jefferson season, given the hand that he's been dealt at quarterback, and there's no other good answers on the roster really, but the hand that he's been dealt at quarterback, an awesome season would be like 1,500 yards, which is great, which makes him exactly what we're drafting, a top 5 fantasy receiver. But I don't see much of a path for Justin Jefferson unless everybody else disappoints to finish as the overall wide receiver 1. He's still a first rounder. He's still a guy they're going to feed the ball to. But I do think his ceiling is capped a little bit.
Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy is our guest here in the Sports Bar. Andy, PPR question here. As not every RB2 can be a home run here, but I'm looking at 2 guys that could be. Maybe one is past his prime. Asking about 2 running back situations, one in Washington, and how do you read the tea leaves there? And is Eckler still kind of a force to be recommended? Would you recommend him as a RB2? And the situation in Tennessee, I mean, you have the running back coming over from Dallas, Pollard, but you also have a pretty decent running back in Spears. Could his numbers be boosted up this year in PPR?
Yeah, I think Spears is a really interesting player, and that's a guy who was playing over 50% of the snaps a year ago with Derrick Henry on the team. So that's not changing in 2024 with Tony Pollard as his main competition. I think both of these guys are actually pretty nice values because I feel like maybe we've forgotten how good Tony Pollard was 2 years ago. Prior to the pretty complicated leg injury that he suffered, which was clearly affecting him, I think, at least in the first half of last season. So I view Pollard as a bounce back candidate. I think Spears is a great option in PPR leagues. I think he's definitely somebody who could finish this season with 55, 65 catches, something like that. He's just a source of cheap and easy yards for a young quarterback in Will Levis, who's we think an ascending talent. They've really assembled quite a team around him. So Tennessee is really interesting. It's one of the more interesting. Like, I know it's not a huge national storyline. Like, what are the Titans this year? But fantasy wise, if Will Levis can play at a sort of league average level quarterback wise, that really unlocks some things because they have some fun players in that offense, right? Like Calvin Ridley can still be a thing and DeAndre Hopkins can still be a thing and Spears and Pollard can be too. But we can't have the version of Will Levis who was for the most part putting up 170 passing yards last year, right? We need that offense like fully operational. And your other question about Washington, I will say that I really think highly of Brian Robinson, and I think he's pretty clearly the running back that I want there. He took on a receiving role last year and was really good in it. We've seen some chemistry between him and Jaden Daniels early on. My concern for Eckler is that I think Robinson is going to own the goal line. I don't know that for sure, but he's been really good when they get down near the goal line in the past, and I don't see why that would necessarily change. And then the other issue is we just don't see, Jaden Daniels is a proactive running quarterback. And those guys don't tend to check the ball down to running backs in the volume that you might want if you're expecting a big PPR season from Eckler. They tend to look at, okay, it's a running back who's wide open and he's 3 yards in front of me, but I'll just get those yards myself, right? And because Jaden Daniels is an incredible rushing threat, so we're going to see a lot of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Eckler finishes the season with like 40 catches, which is not particularly impactful in PPR. And on top of that, I don't know if he owns the goal line. So those are two. I don't know. I feel like Eckler is dealing with some headwinds here, even if he's healthier after last year.
Andy, we are on the eve of the NFL kickoff tomorrow night. We get Kansas City, we get Baltimore, and it should be a fantasy bonanza. I'm curious to get your thoughts on how you think it plays out. Do you think we have a high-scoring affair? Is somebody like Xavier Worthy worth throwing in your flex position just because you think that Andy Reid's going to show off his new toy week 1?
Well, we did not get a high-scoring affair in the playoffs last year. It was a fun game, but not a lot of points there. Not a lot of fantasy goodness. Now, I think the primary skill players involved in this game are all so good, and so many of them are headed for the Hall of Fame that like you're not sitting them, right? You're not sitting either tight end involved in this game. You're certainly not sitting either quarterback. You're not sitting we've got Derrick Henry on one side, Isaiah Pacheco on the other side. These are rock solid fantasy running backs. So there's not a lot of difficult sit-start choices here. Worthy is one of the more interesting names attached to this game. And the thing that makes him, so fantasy friendly in week 1 in particular is the absence of Hollywood Brown. He's already been ruled out. Not that we thought he was going to be much of a threat to play. He's been dealing with an SC joint injury for the last month and a half. But man, Worthy has the full skill set that we look for in a vertical threat, right? He's got 4.2 speed, which is crazy. He's had some really nice moments in the preseason. Seems to have the confidence of Patrick Mahomes. So we know we're going to get a couple of shot plays to Xavier Worthy, and we only need one of them to hit for him to make some fantasy noise. So I think that's a guy that I'm interested in sneaking into a flex. And then the other guy that, I think we need to talk about as a potential sit-start decision is Zay Flowers, because he was drafted, sort of in that very late wide receiver 2, early wide receiver 3 range. If you're in a league that only starts 2 wide receivers, you might not be looking at him. He is it's kind of a scene of the crime game for him, right? Because he was actually, statistically, he was great in that playoff loss to the Chiefs. He had 115 receiving yards, solid game, except he is also almost single-handedly the reason they lost, right? He had the fumble at the goal line that became a touchback. He had the taunting flag. It was a roller coaster game for Zay Flowers. I would look for them to get him 8-9 targets in this one. I'm really optimistic that Zay Flowers can be used a little bit differently than he was last year, because he was mostly, short stuff, at or near the line of scrimmage, very low ADOT player last year. And that's not exactly what he was in college. He got a lot of deep shots in college, and he thrived in that game. So if we see a little bit more of that this year, he's somebody who, in my mind, can make the leap to being like a 1,200-yard receiver.
Andy, last one for me, and it's the game on Sunday night. Over-under is set at 51 right now for Rams and Lions, and I'm thinking, wow, there should be a lot of points here. Coming out of the gate, can we expect those two offenses to light it up? Part one of the question, and part two, we know the main guys, but what would you suggest as far as flex options from that game?
Yeah, this is a really fun one, and yes would be the short answer. I do think that we can expect both sides to light it up, because we've got, we've got year-to-year continuity on each side. We know who these teams are offensively, and they're great. I think both Jared Goff and Matt Stafford are kind of sneaky, interesting bets to lead the league in passing yards. They're tied to great offenses and great receivers. I think they're both in fun situations. We know the Rams defense is going to take a step back because they're losing one of the all-time defensive players. And then Detroit's defense has, the last couple of years, it's been one of those Ds that it's got some playmakers and we see some highlights, but at the end of the day, they do tend to give up yards and points. So I just think there's opportunities on both sides. If I'm looking at, if I'm looking at flexes in this game, again, it's another one where the stars you just got to play. That we have some pretty notable players in this game who aren't really in the conversation to be benched. I think Jamison Williams is an interesting name because there's been so much buzz about him directly from Dan Campbell, directly from Detroit's head coach throughout the summer. They are clearly trying to make Jamison Williams a thing. They didn't really do anything else at receiver in the offseason, right? They didn't make any splashy ads. So they are clearly relying on him, perhaps to be something more than an occasional deep threat as he was last year. And we'll see if he can take, if he can build on what he did in that narrow playoff loss to the Niners where he had a couple of touchdowns. If he can build on that a little bit and they're giving him, 6-8 opportunities a game, that's a huge deal. And it makes him certainly a flex-worthy player and maybe somebody who can sneak into the top 25 wide receivers.
He's on with us now, but his work week gets underway tomorrow with the Week 1 NFL kickoff in Kansas City. Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, joining us here in the Sports Bar. Lay it all out for us, Andy. We want to get more of your content here as we prepare for Week 1.
Well, content is not something we lack. Check us out at the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast. That is our podcast. We're going 5 days a week. I'm on there a couple days during the week. And then check out Fantasy Football Live. We're actually going to do 2 shows this year. One of them is going to be a half-hour show on Thursday nights pregame, and then the other will be an hour-long show on Sunday mornings to get you set for the entire NFL slate.
Can't wait. Andy, thanks for the time as always, bud.
Love talking to you guys. We made it. It's back.
We're here. We are so back.
It is Andy Behrens stopping by the Sports Bar as the roller coaster ride that is the NFL season gets underway tomorrow night.
Yeah, and a quick update out of Cincinnati where Jamar Chase participated in the first official practice of Week 1 here as they're getting ready for the Patriots. He was seen participating in individual drills. That was all that the Cincinnati media was allowed to see.
I wonder if a deal is imminent or if he's going to play this year just over $1 million. I mean, just over $1 million for that player.
It's
that's robbery.
It's terrible. And you get hurt, you get nothing. If you're a Bengal fan, you shouldn't be upset if Chase is not out there Week 1. And he's asking for this. 1 penny more than what Justin Jefferson got.
He wants the title. He wants to be able to say, I'm the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. And these guys know each other. I mean, they were teammates at LSU.
Yes.
Like, there's a rivalry there. The fact that Cincinnati has waited, and they've waited, and they've waited, it just drives up the price. And maybe it is just a cent more than what the Vikings paid Justin Jefferson. But they could have gotten him. They could have gotten him cheaper. Ayuk's deal, manageable deal for the Niners. Hell, CeeDee Lamb getting his deal done, and CeeDee Lamb didn't eclipse Justin Jefferson. I don't know that just kind of disagree with how Cincinnati's handled this whole situation.
Fowler is reporting that Chase was at the meetings and his participation should be throughout the week here, leading up to Sunday.
So what about the Buffalo Bills? We heard from head coach Sean McDermott, the team practicing today, wearing their blue jerseys. We'll expect to see the blue jerseys for the home opener on Sunday at Highmark against the Cardinals. We learned about the team captains for the upcoming season. If you were expecting a full roster, we've got 2. We've got Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard. We also found out that DeMar Hamlin will be getting the start at safety.
Oh, but there is a leadership council, Andrew.
Don't forget about the leadership council.
Did you put that on your LinkedIn there? I was part of the Buffalo Bills leadership council.
They get together and they decide when they have team meetings, if they're getting breakfast pizza or are they going to get together for team functions? What are they going to do?
You know, we're not happy with the cleanliness of the locker room. We'll call a meeting of the leadership council and we're going to resolve this. The injury report is out, and this is as good as you could hope for here. Fully participating today, Cole Bishop, Quentin Morris, Curtis Samuel. All full participants. Javon Sullivan, the defensive end, the rookie, he was the only guy who did not practice. He's got an oblique. Mitchell Trubisky, your buddy, was limited. That's it.
Mitch Trubisky, my friend. It'll be Mike White backing up Josh Allen on Sunday.
Which the Bills were so up against the cap. I mean, like less than $100,000. That's why Oh, it was one. Wait a second. They restructured here AJ Epineza and Daquan Jones?
Very quietly restructured the deal of two guys that they just signed this offseason to 2-year deals. Very quietly.
What is this? Oh, the magic void years on the end. Yeah. No idea, but poof, you free up just a little bit of money. It was a little over $2 million, so that'll allow the Bills to promote whoever they would like, I would assume. Off the practice squad.
We'll talk more Bills with Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com, who's currently doing a victory lap after predicting that Damar Hamlin would be the Week 1 starter at safety for the Buffalo Bills early on in training camp. We'll let Dan gloat a little bit with his time here. We'll get down to what we saw today on the practice field as well as the team gets ready for Arizona coming up here Sunday. A game you'll be able to hear on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage, we're back. 9 a.m., 4 hours of pregame, 9 a.m.
Joe Capagreco?
Oh, don't worry. Your Sunday tradition is intact. It'll be a little Italian carousel, 7 and 9, and then we'll bump it right into Bills pregame.
If you haven't done that, if you come across it on Sunday morning, hey, I wonder who won the game last night, and then you hear Joe Capagreco, give it 5 minutes.
Yeah, just
give it 5 minutes.
Ask your smart speaker to play 95.7 The Fan when you wake up on Sunday morning. And chances are you're going to hear Joe Capagreco playing it's a contemporary Italian hits and also maybe sharing the latest soccer scores from Italy. That's Sunday morning before we get to Bills pregame.
Hold on. He must be doing this all electronically now. It dawned on me, our old studio actually had a CD player in it, and the Joe Capagreco CDs would go in.
I think we made that switch a while ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because if you want me to find some Titty Bianchi, I can.
Titi.
That's what I said. Titty Bianchi.
Titi.
I can find that for you in our system if you want to hear some. We're not going to do that right now. We're going to come back after a break, and we got more on the way here. We have a Week 1 game that we have to get to as well. Another prediction.
This is a fun one. We'll dive into.
We'll get into that and more next. It is NFL Week 1, and FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, has a special offer to kick us all off this NFL season. I'm Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Now, through September 2nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mike, FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, to download America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds, terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening to the 9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Bills back at practice today. Head coach Sean McDermott announcing that DeMar Hamlin will start at safety next to Taylor Rapp. McDermott on number 3, getting the call.
Yeah, I think it's consistency and opportunity, right? So the opportunity that was there, he took advantage of it and was consistent. Built, a certain level of rapport with T-Rap, and that's important as well at the safety position. So watching those two communicate, and so anxious to watch both of them play this weekend.
Team captains, just 2 this year, Terrell Bernard and Josh Allen. Not practicing today, Javon Sullivan. Mitchell Trubisky was limited. Everyone else good to go. We'll talk more Bills later this hour. 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus's Dan Bates. Wings home tonight against Worcester. 1 game in the majors. Kyle Schwarber with another homer is 32nd. Phillies leading the Jays 3-2 in the 4th. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Looking forward to the challenge of the Arizona Cardinals and what they present as they come in here this weekend.
We're bullish on the Bills still. I think that they're going to win 11 or 12 games and then a shout season. It's all Bills all the time this week, boys. There's no rest for the wicked.
And I think 17 is winning the MVP this year, paired with the fact that I think the Bills win the AFC East for the 5th straight time.
Mike Danger.
I have the Bills winning 8 games. They're an 8-9 team. The Bills miss the postseason. Is that bold? Wow. 8 wins. I believed with this team, it's either they miss the playoffs or they're going to win the Super Bowl. There's no in between.
Gene Battaglia.
It's imperative the Bills win this week, and Arizona is one of these sneaky teams. I'm still sticking by my 10-7 record for the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
10-7 is probably enough to win the division if you believe that only one team from the AFC East makes the postseason. 10-7 probably gets it done.
Can you were asking, are the Jets an 11-win team, a 12-win team? I mean, if the Jets go into San Francisco and win Monday night, and then you look at what's next in their schedule, it's all rookie quarterbacks up until they face the Buffalo Bills on that Monday night.
Do that exercise where you look at the team, not the team, but the quarterback that you're going up against, right? Like the Jets' schedule, it's been, well documented. It's pretty favorable for them early on this season.
Yeah, like going over it quick. Like it's Brock Purdy, and again, if they get that somehow, and I think many of us are saying, nah, they don't get that. Will Levis. We assume it's going to be Jacoby Brissett week 3 still, yeah. Bo Nix, Sam Darnold. Okay, not a rookie quarterback, but then you get the Bills. Then you get whatever Pittsburgh trots out there. Good luck. Then you get whatever New England trots out. You get Houston. You get little Kyler Murray, the Colts. Dude, the Jets, if they don't start off well, then they're not going to go to the postseason.
I would say even if they lose week 1, I wouldn't throw in the towel because that's their toughest opponent early in the season. They get past week 1 and they start rattling off some wins. The Bills might be a speed bump there. They're, to them having some sort of a winning streak, but you could make the case at that schedule, the way it sets up for them. They're a 10-win or 11-win team.
Can we say this, Danger? Because it was last year, and again, no one cares when you're right. You were right. You called it first. You said, hey, the Bills, it's going to be uneasy. It's going to come down to Week 17 in Miami. Sure enough, it came down into the last game of the regular season in the NFL, Week 17, in case you forgot. You look at the Bills' schedule this year, will it come down to it was actually Week 18, the 17th game. Mm-hmm. Will it come down to Week 17, the Jets at the Bills? I think that's the game, actually, that will decide the division.
It could, or the Bills find themselves at that point of the season farting around and needing help. And look, they needed a lot of help to get to the position that they were in there in Week 18. And it was funny. You lose the game, you're not in the playoffs. Win the game, you're the 2 seed? Crazy.
Insane. Right. Yeah.
Crazy scenario.
Yeah, and some of that help was the Dolphins losing to Will Levis. Other things happened along the way. This is why we love this league.
That's right.
Why we love it.
Week 1 gets underway tomorrow. We are going to take our show on the road. Join us at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue, the neighborhood of the arts, for our live show from 3 until 6. I should mention the minister was listening our first segment.
Okay, let me back up.
The Minister of Mayhem, Jeff Dale from Three Heads, big Raiders fan. Saw him on Friday night. We were there for the Spazzano and Sandy 25th anniversary party. Gene had a bold prediction, and you reiterated that bold prediction earlier this afternoon, that the Raiders will be the team that finishes the season with the worst record.
Yeah, because I think, look, it's not bold from the standpoint of they're over under 6.5. Vegas doesn't think they're going to be good. Nobody's taking them as a playoff team. Their quarterbacking isn't good. Their offense isn't good. Will Devontae Adams still be on the team after the trade deadline? There's a lot not to like about Vegas. I just took it another step, saying, hey, go all out, lose, and lose spectacularly. Pick number 1 overall.
Well, Jeff, the Minister of Mayhem, sent me a private textoso. You better check your number 1 pick take, Gene. Raiders defensive ranks since Antonio Pierce took over as head coach. Points per game allowed, 15.3. That's first in the league. Defensive touchdowns, 4. That's first in the league. 3.43 sacks per game. That's 4th in the NFL. Takeaways a game, 1.9. Tied for 6th. Yards per carry allowed, just under 4, 10th in the league. Yards per play allowed, 11th in the league. Passer rating allowed, 87, 16th in the league. His take is that the defense is going to carry this team. Antonio Pierce team, you would imagine this defense is going to be, I wouldn't say feared, but at least they'll be nasty.
Okay, and look, Jeff, I cannot wait. I love your beer. We're going to have a good time tomorrow. Anybody watching on YouTube or Twitch right now, I'm going to do my Ken Jeong impression from The Hangover. Yeah, tell those stats again. Boring.
Wait, stop. About stats. Stats
stop.
don't matter.
No. That was great. That was really nice last year. Again, your offense.
Yeah.
And stop with that. Any team will get a bounce. Oh, do you want to review who they played last year? It was a schedule of suck. Yes, they beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Love that. That was awesome. That was awesome. It has nothing to do with this year.
We will be there live, 3 to 6. Again, Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. The new Leaping Hazy IPA. Every year I feel like I get, a new favorite beer from Three Heads. The Kinda Juicy is a staple. I love the Kinda Juicy. This one is my new favorite. I'm a big fan of the Hazy IPA, and the Leaping Hazy IPA is the one that we encourage you to watch with your favorite team this football season. Leaping IPA, when you see the can, you'll know what we're talking about. Greatest beer label of all time. And we'll also have our friends from Reservoir Dogs serving their all-beef Black Angus Franks 6-ounce burgers on DePaulo rolls, and the new Mafia Dog, which you got to try. It's served on a pretzel roll, Gene, with buffalo chicken wing dip, blue cheese crumbles, applewood smoked bacon, fresh bruschetta, and scallions, all regular menu items named after characters from the movie Reservoir Dogs. They're going to be on site as well. And, of course, our cast of characters, our regulars. We appreciate everybody that's stopping by, considering stopping by. Play hooky from work. What's the weather tomorrow? Sunny and 80?
It's perfect.
I feel like the patio is going to be jumping a little bit.
The patio is perfect. So you can come in, watch a little bit, hang out with us, go sit out on the patio. Danger and I will be hanging out a little bit after the show, and you can have a cold one with us.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
It all gets underway tomorrow night with Kansas City hosting the Ravens. We are back. The NFL is back, Gino. I'm irrationally enthusiastic for what lies ahead here in the next 24 hours.
We're going to have Dan Fates coming up bottom of the hour as he'll give us his practice report and kind of bullet point before we get some takes here, what happened with the Bills today. Danger, are you surprised? They go from 8 captains last year down to 2 captains.
I actually love this move. This is like kind of one of my favorite moves that they've made this offseason. I've been pretty critical. I don't like a lot of the moves they made this offseason. I actually like this move. I'm not a big fan of 8 captains. Okay, all right.
Well, it's funny. 8 captains, but only 2 came back. And if you're going to go with 8 captains or 6 captains, it would have kind of put a spotlight on the fact that one of the captains last year isn't a captain this year. And really, with what happened off the field, and yes, It's all dropped. I get that. I don't want to get into that argument, but still, it's not captain material. Is it quite for Von Miller? Von Miller is not a captain this year. He was last year. So I think it's a little misdirection by the Buffalo Bills here. What it does, though, Danger, I guess it provides, this is McDermott, an opportunity, for everybody. I want to know who's on the leadership council, 10 on the lead. Can you only imagine the lead? What does the leadership council do?
I mean, if it's anything like our culture club or any organization's leadership club or culture, like, okay, are we organizing what field games we're going to play when we do the team picnic? What are we really working out here?
Like, if you have your leadership council, something's gone so wrong with the coaching staff, there's a problem, right?
Taryn Johnson, we want you to bring the cupcakes to the team picnic. Vaughn, if you don't mind, a little Texas barbecue, and we'll share that around. And don't forget, we're going to do our chili cook-off. Our chili cook-off is happening this year as well. This is all sponsored by the Buffalo Bills Leadership Council.
Health-wise for the Buffalo Bills, pretty good. Mitchell Trubisky limited today. Javon Sullivan not practicing. Everybody else fully, including the safeties. Mike Edwards, Cole Bishop, full participant, and Damar Hamlin, full participant today. Is it a little surprising? A little surprising to me that Sean McDermott, he didn't have to do this week one, but I suppose you got to put out a depth chart, and on top of that depth chart was Damar Hamlin. McDermott announcing that Damar Hamlin indeed is a starter.
Yeah, I think it's consistency and opportunity, right? So the opportunity that was there, he took advantage of it and was consistent. Built, a certain level of rapport with T-Rap, and that's important as well at the safety position. So watching those two communicate, and so anxious to watch both of them play this weekend.
I'll give credit where credit is due, because at the beginning of training camp and right before training camp, we were having the conversation of, is Damar Hamlin making this team?
Right.
That was a real conversation that we were having, and to what McDermott is saying there, these guys were so banged up all preseason that Hamlin just rose up and made the most of the opportunity. Now, I'm not going to say that Damar Hamlin is going to be a better option long term for this defense than Cole Bishop or even Mike Edwards, but he's going to be out there week one. Maybe it's attrition, but don't have to apologize for being a starter in the NFL.
Place your bets on when Cole Bishop takes over the job. Like, you drafted Cole Bishop for a reason. Maybe it's not until next year. Make no mistake about it. Damar Hamlin, number one reason why he got the job is because of the experience and because other guys weren't available. So this just kind of made sense. That story today, not so surprising to me that Damar Hamlin was announced as a starter just based on, hey, over the last few weeks, these other guys haven't been getting the reps.
Dan Fates will join us here in 10 minutes. We'll let him have a victory lap. He was one of the people that told us we were crazy when we were wondering whether or not Damar Hamlin was making this team. Dan put his name on it and said, hey, he's not only making the team, he's starting week one.
Did you see this too? Dan has you beat by one, or will have you beat by one, me by two. What am I talking about? He's now going to be girl dad times 3.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, he announced it over the weekend.
Well, that's big news.
That is huge news. And Danger has 2 daughters. I have 1. That has the makings of a sitcom, does it not?
Nobody likes a one-upper, Fatesy. What are you doing, man? Good luck. My goodness. While we're talking NFL, let's get to another week one game, Gino.
Lions and Rams. Yeah. This is what you want on the opening Sunday night. We don't need to put the Cowboys and Giants in there and watch a blowout.
You remember the postseason game was fantastic.
It was. It was, and you're putting it in the dome, and generally speaking, offenses in this setting should roll. Lions giving 3.5 points. 51 is the over-under. All right, Danger.
Yeah.
Call me Mr. Chalky Square Man, if you will. I kind of like the over here, and I kind of like the Lions to come out punching at home, fired up. I'm taking Detroit to cover.
Hard for me to go against you because I think Detroit, I made the prediction yesterday, Detroit's my Super Bowl champion. I think this is their year, but I don't know that this is their week. I think I'm going to go with the Rams on the road. Revenge game.
All right, so are you throwing it into the tight window where the Lions win but they don't cover, or are you saying Rams outright? I guess it doesn't matter if you're saying Rams plus a 3.5, but put your name on it. Are you saying Rams outright?
I'll go Rams plus the 3.5.
But outright.
Will they win outright? Yeah, they're winning that game.
Wow.
Yeah. Rams are winning.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go with that one. I'll go with the Rams on that one. I loved that game last year, but I felt like at the end of the season, the Rams were kind of, they're everybody's beat up, but the Rams feel like when they're injured, they're even more injured. Now I know Aaron Donald not being there matters. Nobody talks about Kobe Turner. He's so good. So good. They're going to be fine. Their pass rush is going to be fine.
You should, if you're a Ram fan, be comforted knowing that Kelly Stafford will not be attending this game. The wife of Matthew Stafford, after getting booed last year, she says she's going to stay home to take care of her mental health.
Good.
You know what also helps your mental health? Staying off social media.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Unplug. Yeah, plug
Yeah.
off. I'll go Rams on that one, Gino. But I do like the Lions this season. I like the Lions a lot this season.
So your Sunday viewing, spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Spectacular. You've got Bills, Cardinals. You've got so many angles in the Cowboys at the Browns, none of which, okay, is Tom Brady actually going to be good? How's that going to kind of play out? And then you cap it off with that on Sunday night?
I mean, I think there's so many keys to making sure that your melt into the couch is set up properly. I mean, you want multiple devices at the ready, right? Maybe a laptop, certainly a phone, maybe an iPad, so you can check all your teams, make sure you got all your stats coming in, make sure your bets are placed and everything is coming through. You want hydration, so you want to make sure that you've got something at arm's reach. I think you want a blanket underneath, blanket on top. I think you want to be prepared in that regard. As many pillows as you can. If your wife is like mine, she says don't lay on the decorative pillows. It's Sunday, and for the melt to happen, I need as many pillows as possible.
Where does the dog sit? Because sometimes the dog wants to hop up and hang out with you.
Yeah,
so
dogs.
He's allowed on one of the pillows, right?
We got the blanket out. The dog's allowed on the blanket. Usually next to me, maybe at my feet, but most often right next to me as my wingman. And then I think you're all set. You've got your volume at high, and you don't want to have to get up for anything. I mean, you really don't want to have to get up for anything for the melt to truly happen. You need to be prepared. It takes a little bit of foresight, and if you follow my steps here, you could very easily melt into your couch. You started at just before kickoff at 1. Yeah, you're melting by 3, couple hours. You're good, and then you're not getting up. Forget it. You're just not.
No.
Yeah, no napping. You're not getting up.
We do have some hot uniform talk.
You're saying that with a question mark. Is it or is it not hot uniform talk?
It involves one of our local teams.
Okay.
This announcement today. It feels completely out of season. I will admit this, but because they are local, the Sabres announcing today that the Goat Head is returning 15 times. The Sabres will wear the black and red at home.
Make it the primary.
That's 36% of the home games.
Make it the primary. Lindy's back. Make it the primary. Play Machine Head when they come out of the tunnel. Just go back to 2000. What are we doing?
Yeah, Goo Goo Dolls, all that. I guess it gets the fans excited, and we love hot uniform talk. At this point, though,
I don't care.
Get to the damn playoffs.
I don't care anymore.
I don't care what you wear.
I don't care anymore. That's where we're at. Don't care until you win something.
Yeah, wear whatever you want to wear. I don't care.
You know what you can wear, and I wouldn't be upset? Wear the San Diego Padres City Connect uniforms on ice. I wouldn't care. Just win something. It doesn't matter.
Those are not the worst danger. The Wrigleyville is like
no
garbage.
The Padres City Connect jerseys are not just the worst uniforms in baseball, the worst uniforms of all time.
No, because I look at that and I see the zoo. I see the pink flamingos of the San Diego Zoo, but I digress. Bet you don't know when the Sabres open their training camp.
Isn't it funny how everything kind of fades away when the NFL noise gets louder and louder and louder? I mean, baseball, there's so much going. I mean, Kyle Schwarber has hit his 4th home run in less than 24 hours just north of the border. You've got the Yankees, doing what they do. Like, we were talking about all this leading up to training camp.
Caitlin Clark making the playoffs. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Caitlin Clark?
Yeah.
Remember her?
We cared about
she
that.
Great?
Yeah.
We did. It just all kind of fades away. The noise of the NFL is too loud to ignore.
The Sabres open camp in 9 days.
9 times.
9 days away.
And if you didn't know that, don't worry. You're
Well,
not alone.
What was Tim asking us last night at the draft when we were all sitting around? He was like, does hockey season start earlier this year than normal?
I think because he saw the first day. Yes, for the Sabres it does. Is the first. There's going to be a Friday afternoon where you're not going to hear Danger and Battaglia because the Sabres are playing in Prague.
Oh, nice.
That's the one where they got to go over and play the Devils first 2 weeks.
That's a regular season game.
Which this is the very weird scenario where there's going to be regular season games for the Sabres over in Prague. And nearly simultaneously, there will be a Sabres preseason game right before, hanging back here with just mainly Amherst there, guys that didn't make the team. But we're going to put Sabre University. Like this is a split squad spring training game, whatever it is.
Kind of crazy. We'll have it for you. Goat heads for 36% of the home games. Just go ahead and go back to the black and red. Fine. It's fine. Nobody cares. Just win. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. That was fun when it was introduced and everybody got excited. It was fun when they weren't losing in those. Remember they were wearing them. They never lose. That's like now, all right, then all of the novelty is worn off.
That's what the Red Wings are up against with the plates. And tonight they're going to be the Coco Locos again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so eventually you move on to the next thing.
All right, Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Stopping by the sports bar next. We'll get a practice report from today's session. We'll preview Week 1 coming up Sunday here on The Fan. Rochester against the Arizona Cardinals. Fates next on The Fan.
update.
Bills back at practice today. Head coach Sean McDermott announcing that Damar Hamlin will start at safety next to Taylor Rapp. McDermott also announcing who's going to be the captains this year.
Captains-wise, I know that's for some of you a question that you'll want to know the answer to. So our captains this year, helping lead our football team, will be Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard, and then around them will also be placed a leadership group or council of 10 other players, which will help lead our football team.
Not practicing today, Javon Sullivan, Mitchell Trubisky was limited. Everyone else good to go. We'll talk more Bills next. Dan Fates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus, joining us here in the Sports Bar. The Wings going with one of their alter egos again tonight. The Coco Locos hosting Worcester. Kyle Schwarber, home runner number 32 on the season. Jays leading the Phillies 3-2, bottom of 5. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
See Dan Fates on 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com, the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel as well. He stops by the Sports Bar now. And Dan, we like to say in the Sports Bar, no one cares when you're right because they just want to tell you when you're wrong. But with that in mind, while we were having conversations early in the preseason about the future of Damar Hamlin, one man I think stood out, and that man was you, saying, not only do I think Damar Hamlin is making this team, he's going to be your week 1 starter. Victory lap time, buddy.
Yeah, I've had some hot takes that have been wrong, but nobody cares about that. They just care when you're right, and that's all that matters. And I was saying that he had a really good minicamp. He had good OTAs. He started to look like his old self. And when everybody was saying it's only a matter of time before they call him Micah Hyde and they drafted Cole Bishop and these things, I was one saying Damar Hamlin will start week 1. And feels pretty good, guys, as Jenna Cottrell next to me wants to hit me. That's what I'll say right now as we ride back from practice.
Part of why I wanted to bring it up is I know how much it makes Jenna's blood boil, and right now she's probably like, oh, I can't believe these guys are letting you actually, take this victory lap.
Yeah, and we'll do our practice recap on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel as we're driving back from practice, and I'm going to be insufferable. Like, if you guys want to see, just make sure to check it out. Mike is already trying to put an asterisk next to it. Sometimes people don't want you to succeed, and I'll say this: there are a few things better in life. Going to be a father of 3 in the coming months.
Yes,
that's
dude.
great. That's great. It's also really good to be right.
Dan, congratulations on that, Dan. And you've got Danger beaten by 1.
Yeah, nobody
me
likes
by 2.
a one-upper,
yeah,
Dan. 3 girls? Come on.
3 girls. All right, one other question I have on Damar Hamlin, and more often than not, postseason awards, and it's silly maybe to ask a postseason award, question in week 1 here, but I thought it was egregious Damar Hamlin didn't get Comeback Player of the Year award last year. If he starts the majority of games for the Buffalo Bills and makes meaningful contributions, can we just give him that award already?
Yeah, he should have won it last year. The fact that he was again on the NFL roster, and I think we've lost sight of Damar played 2 years ago before his injury and started 15 games and was really good filling in for Micah Hyde when he had his neck injury. And obviously the story, the journey, the happy ending of this has been lost on the side of he's a damn good football player too that had 90 plus tackles when he started those 15 games. So I think we've lost sight of, hey, Damar, not just a great story of overcoming the odds and being alive, he proved that he could play as a starting safety in the NFL when he was called upon. So that was and he knew the system. That was the one thing that when we were at training camp, we were talking to Taron Johnson about, hey, there's no Poyer and Hyde back there. What's it been like? What are you seeing? And the first thing he said was, Damar's a guy that knows the system. And it's so important, and Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich and those guys, having somebody with familiarity with the system, Damar has that. And that's a big key.
No, I don't want to be a hater, but I mean, seriously, what's the over-under on when we see Cole Bishop out there starting? Is it? And we're not wishing any ill or injury on any player, but I mean, you drafted a guy in the 2nd round for a reason. He's not going to sit on the bench all season, is he?
I don't know, Jim, in my Tony Romo voice, because they drafted Terrell Bernard in the 3rd round with hopes of looking at the future. Terrell Bernard sat the whole year behind Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds, and we were going, well, he's just a special teams guy. And he even said how difficult it is his first year learning the playbook and learning all of those things and then getting comfortable in the system. So maybe this is kind of just a learning year for a guy like Cole Bishop. That's not a knock to say that McDermott doesn't play as rookies, because we've seen him play rookies. So that excuse doesn't work. But if DeMar plays and plays well, it's his job, and I don't see him losing it unless injury or a lack of production.
The Bills go from 8 captains down to 2, Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard. But there is a leadership council. Do you at 13 Wham Buffalo Plus have a leadership council, Dan?
Yeah, it's me and me and me. That's our leadership council in Buffalo Plus. Mike's got headphones on. He's not even.
I mean, you're just trolling your passengers. I mean, this is.
I hear everything. Me trolling? I would never, by any means, troll my coworkers or anything. That doesn't sound like me.
The idea that the Bills go down to 2 captains, is this kind of a way to mask that, hey, we really can't have Von Miller as a captain once again?
I tweeted out earlier in the day who I thought they'd go 7 captains. I thought, Deion Dawkins would be one on offense. I thought Mac Hollins could be one just from the veteran leader in the wide receiver room. I thought Von, because he's been a captain every single year. I also thought Taron Johnson really is a leader on that defense. He's been around, was there through the Poyer, Hyde, Trey White era, and has kind of stayed in the background, only spoke when really needed to. But I think he's earned that. I think his play has shown that. And so I think that there's a lot of guys that are going to be leaders. This is cliche. They're all going to be a part of this. But the Von thing would have been interesting if he would have been named a captain this year for sure.
Dan, what does it look like on Sunday? Because we've got a lot of unknowns about this offense. Yeah. We didn't see much of it in the preseason. The defense certainly has a new look to it as well. Arizona promises to be better than they were last year, I would imagine. Plus, you've got this unbelievable weapon in rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. Is that something that they're going to exploit with the Bills and their secondary? What's your outlook for how this game kind of plays out? It feels like it could be a high-scoring affair.
Yeah, the Cardinals were the worst defense in the league last year. But the big thing we still don't know. We went into training camp not sure how all Bills' offensive pieces would kind of work together and fit in, and how they would all, gel and find their roles. And we've left preseason, and we still don't really know their roles or how they're all going to gel together. We asked Deion Dawkins today in the locker room about what's one word to describe this Bills' offense, because Brandon Beane was very candid, saying he wishes the starters would have gotten more time together in the preseason, but because of injuries and other reasons, they really had their hands, tied behind their backs that they couldn't play the starters. And Deion said, unpredictable. And we all kind of laughed like, well, what does that mean? He's like, I don't mean it in a bad way, but just the fact of last year you knew who was getting the ball and you knew where the ball was going. Like, defenses don't really know where the ball is going to go on this offense. We asked Curtis Samuel, because he said the same thing about this unpredictability of this Bills offense, and we kind of joked and said, do you guys know what you guys are going to look like? And Curtis kind of laughed. He was like, totally, absolutely we know what we're going to look like. Like, they've stressed that it is this Joe Brady philosophy of everybody eats, and that you just have to wait your turn to get your dinner, and that they're going to spread the ball around and all of these things. That sounds great in theory, guys. It's just a matter of there's going to be times when you need somebody to go make a play, and we just don't know necessarily who that guy's going to be. So defensively, I'm very confident in Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich, and they just turn out top 5 defenses. No matter the injuries, no matter Milano's out or anything like that, they just perform. That's the standard. The unknown, heading into Sunday especially, is their offensive continuity with all the new pieces, which we would have hoped we would have a better idea heading into week 1. We don't. It helps that it's Arizona, a bad defensive team that could be a part of it. But Sean said too, we're going to learn a lot about our team as the weeks goes on. And I don't think there's anything truer than that.
Yeah, Dan Fates, 13 Wham Buffalo Plus, our guest here in the sports bar. And Dan, I've asked variations of this question here, but here we are, week 1, and how far the Bills go will determine a lot of where Josh Allen's game is at, and can he be that MVP candidate once again? As we're entering week 1 here, give us like the state of Josh Allen. Where is the Bills franchise quarterback heading into the season?
There's more on his plate than there's ever been before. It's not fair to say pressure or anything like that because his resume speaks for itself. And his play over these last few years as he has risen to the second best quarterback in the league. And just because he's not number 1 doesn't mean you have to use Patrick Mahomes to beat down Josh Allen for, what he's done. Mahomes has been a thief of joy for every team in the NFL, like what Tom Brady did for 2 decades in New England and in Tampa Bay. But I talked to Dan Orlovsky this offseason, and he talked about, does Josh have the discipline to continuously take the check down when defenses give it to him? And to understand you don't need to make every single throw in every single situation. He talks about a comparison. It was my favorite story Orlovsky told me. He said he was watching film the one day with Matt Stafford in Detroit, and it was like 1st and 10, and the guy was triple covered. And he said Stafford threw the ball in there, and it was a perfect throw, right? And he goes, Matt, why didn't you take this check down for 5 yards? And he said Stafford looked at him and said, because you make that throw. I make the other throw. That's how good these guys are. Josh can make every throw, but it doesn't mean you need to make every throw. And especially if guys aren't open, can Josh be that? Mahomes did it last year with bad wide receivers, right? To be a game manager at times, to play boring football. Josh is always exciting, but this year more than ever, he may need to play a more boring style of football to be successful as an offense and set the team up for long term.
Dan, what's your outlook on Keon Coleman? I think a lot of people are excited to see the Bills rookie. He certainly gained a lot of fans through the course of the preseason, but we also know that Sean McDermott, offensively in the past, we've seen him kind of work guys in. We saw Dalton Kincaid get worked in through the course of last season. Do you think it's a quick start for the rookie, or do you think he gets kind of slowly worked in?
I think it's a quicker start than Kincaid. I think that they were easing Kincaid in more, but I think they're going to have to rush Keon because there's not necessarily a Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis ahead of him. They need Keon to produce and produce quickly for this offense. I think that explosive plays, because we've kind of said Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir and all these guys, they all kind of do the same thing. And they usually kind of work within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage and over the middle of the field. So Keon's going to be that one piece that I think, we joke around, Jen and Mike and I joke around that Keon can play, quote unquote, above the rim. That's what we all like to say about guys that can, are big and physical and tall. But I think that's going to be a huge part that the Bills, if they want to have explosive plays, I think it starts with Keon. To have downfield plays, to have 50-50 balls, to have Josh have the confidence to know they can go up and get them. The flip side is that Keon's going to go up against corners for the first time, that they're going to show him different defenses. He's going to face better press coverage than he ever saw at Florida State. It's going to be a learning on the fly, but I think he does kind of have to get thrown in the deep end of the pool if the Bills offense wants to get off to if they want to put up 30-something points against Arizona. I think Keon's got to have more than 3 catches and 30 yards like this Kincaid ease him in. I think he's got to be explosive, and I think they have to, give him opportunities early and often.
Dan, I believe there's no such thing as a must-win in week 1, so that's how I'm prefacing this. But when you look at what's coming up next, and they're not going to talk about this, but it's a short week to Miami, and it's another playoff caliber team. And then you have this brutal 3-game stretch away from the stadium. How important is it to get a W against, it's a winnable game, I would say, against Arizona here?
Yeah, it's huge. You're right. There's no such thing as a must-win week 1 game, but there will be overreactions one way or another. That is what Mike always loves about week 1, is that some teams will be thinking Super Bowl while other teams will already be thinking about who's going to be gets the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Like, that's just the way the life in the NFL works, especially after a long off season. We're just dying to see football. But I think it's big for Joe Brady. I think it's big for this pieces. Like, Stephon Diggs goes and does his GQ article, and I've been a Diggs defender. I'm not trying to defend his actions, but I think that it's so quickly people have turned on him. But say that this wide receivers can't get open and the Bills are trailing and things like that. Like, you're going to be if the offense doesn't look smooth, which, again, was the big thing we talked about this offseason was what was wrong with the offense at the end of the year, so on and so forth. That conversation is going to be coming up. And again, you've moved on. It's in the past. But you also need to have a backup plan. And what was your plan moving on from Diggs? And this is going to be the first time that they're going to be tested. And the first time to say, hey, the offense doesn't look right, give them time and all these things. But that's not how the NFL works. And that's not how the media circus works around NFL teams. So big to make. Again, you don't have to cover the 6-point spread, but look competent on offense, because that's not something that, again, we didn't see in the preseason, and I don't care about the preseason, but to see some continuity, some rhythm to the offense, I think would be very the nerves of Bills fans moving forward into the early part of the year.
Dad, it's interesting because I don't know if you've shared your prediction for the season yet or if you're saving that for a future episode of Buffalo Plus, but we always kind of think to ourselves, all right, what happens if it doesn't go well? And who would the scapegoat be? There's been a scapegoat, you could say, pretty much every year that the season has ended. Scapegoat last year happened in the middle of the season. It was Ken Dorsey. Get rid of him. Move on. Things are so much better with Joe Brady. Do you have a scapegoat this year? For me, it's like, all right, well, you're carrying all that dead cap, so maybe Brandon Beane is a scapegoat.
Yeah. Do we have to talk about a scapegoat before week 1 of the NFL kickoff, guys? Like, is that what we're doing here?
We explore all options.
Okay, I'm just saying, we're acting like the Bills are 0-3. I just don't like that vibe, Danger. I just want to put that out there. I think if there is a scapegoat, you can look and say, it's a transition year, right? Like, that's what you'll say. And again, on paper, this roster is not as good as the Jets. Like, it just isn't. Like, they're not favored to win the division. I still think they will win the division, but I think that's part of where you're looking at it and going, this is a retooling year. Jen and I once talked about it. It's not a rebuild because you have Josh Allen, and when you have Josh Allen, you're never rebuilding. You always have a chance. But this roster is being tweaked. You've got new safeties. You've got a whole new wide receiver room. Like a lot of this stuff is still needs to be figured out, and we haven't kicked the ball off yet, and Danger's already talking about who the scapegoat of the season is going to be.
I'm saying if, Dan.
You feel my pain, Dan. You feel my pain here in the sports part. Dan Fates 13. Have you made a prediction yet, or is that something we can look forward to on Buffalo Pluser?
We got our show tomorrow. It's going to be a live show on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel at 7:15. We're going to give all of our week preview for the Cardinals game, our predictions. We're going to have a punishment for whoever finishes in last in that win-loss record for that. We'll also give our season prediction as well for that. So I'll save it for that because I still don't really know what I think is going to happen.
All right. Dan, safe travels.
Wait, 75 and 75.
Don't do it.
Braves 75 wins. The Mets have caught the Braves. Oh, yes. Here we come. And not that I wish injury on anybody but Bryce Harper leaving today's game. Dan, this is coming my prediction, and I will be taking a victory lap all around the city of Rochester that the Mets will get in the last. They will win. They will beat the Brewers. They will beat the Phillies. They will get to the NLCS. I cannot wait. One by one, we're going to take you down.
Wait, what was that? Wait, sorry, you're breaking up there, Gene. Sorry, couldn't hear you.
Dan, can you hear me when I say who this guy talking like, you feel my pain? Dan, who's in more pain in this room right now? Me or this social misfit Mets fan across from me?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, again, it's an adorable story. I'm so glad you guys swept the worst team in MLB history. Like, that was a big 3 wins for you guys. Like, I don't know. It's tough to beat the White Sox, but you guys were able to do it.
Oh, the Rockies might get you again tonight, Dan. Ooh.
Yeah. If you get into a 1-game playoff or whatever the wild card is, because we haven't been in it, because we've usually won the division, so I'm not totally familiar about how that works. But the fact of the matter is, like, you're good rolling out Sean Manaea. Like you're like, this is the guy, right? Like you're good with that.
The MVP for the National League, believe it or not, there are people that are going to put Francisco Lindor on their ballot, Dan. So, yes.
You're right. And just like Brandon Bean says, there are idiots everywhere.
Dan, thanks for the time. Safe travels, man. Enjoy week 1. Let's talk again soon.
Yeah, go Braves.
You got it. Dan Fates, 13 Web Sports. You didn't have to go there. We're having a nice football conversation.
Hey, it's important
I even fell on the
sword.
I even fell on the sword. I'm not trying to wreck good vibes. I'm just wondering, like, what if it goes badly? Like, what do they have in mind? You know, I know nobody wants to hear that now, but
well, it is a valid point, and I think the answer there is, well, what could you do? We couldn't, the cap will be much better next year. Ta-da! It's all fine.
Next year.
What
about this year? Well, we'll see. They haven't even snapped yet. I'll give you that.
Again, I'm going to make the analogy to how everybody plays golf. You remember the good stuff from last year. Just like you remember the good shot, the one you put like just right by the pin. Yes, you remember that shot. You forget all the pain and the ugliness that was last year.
I don't forget.
You forget you lost to Mac Jones and Russell Wilson, and you lost to freaking Zach Wilson.
You almost lost to Tyrod Taylor. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it was that first half of the season wasn't good.
Yes. So maybe change isn't a bad thing here, Danger.
Maybe it takes this team a little bit of time to ramp up. Maybe you need that middle of the season. You get that bye week, and then you make the adjustments. But we're way ahead of ourselves here. I mean, it is, after all, we haven't even kicked off week 1. We'll have the game for you here on the Fan. Rochester, our coverage starts at 9 a.m. That's on Sunday morning.
9 times.
Right before kickoff, coming up at 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon from Highmark Stadium. And, of course, you'll have Chris Brown, you'll have E. Wood, and Sal on the call.
Can you imagine what that conversation's like driving back and forth to Buffalo, the three of them?
Well, I think they're just – Dan is going to be insufferable. I think they're all just bracing for just how insufferable Dan is going to be, knowing that if MVS leads the Bills in receiving yards.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, name a middle school after Dan Fates, because that was his bold prediction about this team going into the preseason.
MVS is a complete afterthought now. And that should be kind of the lesson when we get to training camp next year. It's like the fifth wide receiver. Is it really that important? If you are leaning on your fifth wide receiver to make major contributions, then we got a problem.
We'll get to happy hour next on the Fan Rochester. And, yeah, the Bills making a little bit of news today. Damar Hamlin will get to start week 1 at safety. We'll talk about that decision by the Buffalo Bills. Not like they had many choices. There hasn't been a lot of availability at the position. And also team captains and why only 2 team captains this year feels like might have been the only move the Buffalo Bills to make. But don't worry. There's a leadership council. So you'll know that every time there's a team meeting, breakfast pizza and bagels and coffee for everybody, thanks to the leadership council.
The leadership council will be in effect. We got to have a leadership council meeting tomorrow, Danger, because or tonight maybe to prepare for 3 heads and embracing everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get you teed up for tomorrow afternoon as well when we take the show on the road to our favorite spot, 3 Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. That's all coming up with happy hour, as well as your calls at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
WNIBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Buffalo Bills back at practice today. Head coach Sean McDermott announcing that Damar Hamlin will start at safety next to Taylor Rapp. McDermott saying that Hamlin earned it.
Yeah, I think it's consistency and opportunity, right? So the opportunity that was there, he took advantage of it and was consistent. Built, a certain level of rapport with T-Rap, and that's important as well at the safety position. So watching those two communicate, and so anxious to watch both of them play this weekend.
Two team captains named this year, just two, Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard. Not practicing today, Javon Sullivan, Mitchell Trubisky was limited. Everyone else good to go. Rochester Red Wings with one of their alter egos tonight, the Coco Locos hosting Worcester. They go to the 8th in Toronto with the Phillies leading the Jays 3-2. Kyle Schwarber with his 32nd home run of the season. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Looking forward to the challenge of the Arizona Cardinals and what they present as they come in here this weekend.
We're bullish on the Bills still. I think that they're going to win 11 or 12 games, and then a shout season. It's all Bills all the time this week, boys. There's no rest for the wicked.
And I think 17 is winning the MVP this year, paired with the fact that I think the Bills win the AFC East for the 5th straight time.
Mike Danger.
I have the Bills winning 8 games. They're an 8-19. The Bills miss the postseason. Is that bold? Wow. 8 wins. I believed with this team, it's either they miss the playoffs or they're going to win the Super Bowl. There's no in between.
Gene Battaglia.
It's imperative the Bills win this week, and Arizona is one of these sneaky teams. I'm still sticking by my 10-7 record for the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour in the Sports Bar. We're glad you're with us. However you may be enjoying the show. Listening on the free-to-download Odyssey app or your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, or our stream up now on Twitch. Or if you're just driving around locally, 95.7 FM, AM 950. We appreciate that. It's happy hour in the Sports Bar with our show tomorrow being live. Kind of exciting. I've got like this just overwhelming enthusiasm for the next 24 hours. We've got the Three Heads show tomorrow from Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue. We've got week 1 kicking off from Kansas City with the Ravens and a rematch of the AFC Championship game from last year. It's all coming together. And today we heard from the Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott, practice report from today. And I'm going to spring this on you, Gino. I'm not really in midseason form yet. We've got all this audio from Sean McDermott.
I know, McLies.
Are we gonna? Do we want to challenge ourselves a little bit here?
It depends on what the topic is.
I have a topic.
Okay.
Sean McDermott on the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, okay. Give me the seconds.
23 seconds.
This is tough. Like, I'm going to leave it to you to decide what is a lie and what isn't, because it's kind of hard to tell in week 1 what the Cardinals are all about. But
I'm sure he'll have plenty of glowing things to say about.
But if it goes over the top, we're going to
one of the worst defenses in. They were the worst defense in the league last year.
Yeah,
with a defensive-minded head coach, mind you, Sean McDermott on.
Okay, where do you put it? I put the over/under at 5. You going over?
I'm gonna go 5. This feels high. I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna go under. Sean McDermott on his week 1 opponent for the Buffalo Bills, the Arizona Cardinals.
Looking forward to the challenge of the Arizona Cardinals and what they present as they come in here this weekend. Well-coached team, very talented. They've added a number of high picks through the course of past year's draft, and they're a very talented football team and bring a lot to the table. So we'll have a challenge in front of us. Certainly respect what they do in their organization.
Oh, 4.
Yeah. 5 felt high. 5 felt high. Respect what they do with their organization. They're
Get
a tire
the heck out of
fire.
there.
You stop with the pleasantries.
I've
got another one.
Okay.
Sean McDermott on Kyler Murray
Ooh.
and Arizona's offense.
Give me the seconds on there.
27 seconds. If you set it at 5 again, I think this one I will go over.
I'm going to set it at 5 again.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a dynamic player. They have a number of weapons on that side of the ball in particular, and really across their roster. So it'll be a big challenge for us. It's never easy when you've got a player that's a two-dimensional threat that can throw it from the pocket and also run and create headaches like that. So and extend plays, right? So quite a few, of the quarterback designed runs and so on and so forth. So our structure defensively is going to be very important to us.
Too disappointing. Disappointing. Boy,
two that were kind of questionable, too. Kind of lying, but not.
Yeah. I mean, how mobile is he these days? He's coming off that major knee injury.
I just always feel like when Kyler Murray runs, it's not even a run, it's a scamper. It's like that guy is running for his life.
Right.
It really looks like he is running for his life. That'll be Sunday. We'll have that for you here on the Fan Rochester. Pregame starts at 9 a.m., kickoff at 1. You're home for Buffalo Bills football. 95.7 FM, the Fan Rochester. We learned today also from Sean McDermott that Damar Hamlin will be getting the start at safety for the Buffalo Bills.
Which, is it that surprising? I mean, Mike Edwards, only back recently. Cole Bishop, you're not going to put a rookie in there, especially since he didn't get much of a training camp. And there's really nothing after that. Not Cam Lewis, certainly. You're not going to put in there. Like Damar Hamlin, prior to the injury, played in 15 games for the Buffalo Bills, was very serviceable, brings that physical element. He knows this defense. So is it surprising? No. But I think it's noteworthy, and it's going to be one of those stories tonight you're going to see come across the scroll here that the Bills have named, because when do you ever get Sean McDermott telling you player personnel stuff on a Wednesday leading to week 1? Well, the reason was they got to put something down, I suppose, on the
depth chart.
depth.
Yeah, you got your depth chart, and you've also got the injury report. By the way, the injury report looking better, trending in the right direction today for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was a little fog going way back when, but even McDermott, right after that Carolina game said nothing to worry about here. All these guys could be back for this, the start of the season. Curtis Samuel practicing fully today. Again, all the safeties practicing fully. MVS, no problems at all, practicing fully. Trubisky, limited. So do the Bills spend a little money, meaning you got to pay Mike White to bring him up here this week? And I mean, how much would he actually know the offense?
It's actually like a payment of guilt. Like, really sorry that we eviscerated you. Matt Milano should really be paying your salary. Really sorry. Here, can we make it up to you? Can you go buy a new set of ribs with this week 1 salary? Yeah, I have a feeling Mike White's going to be the backup to Josh Allen week 1. We'll see if Trubisky's status improves here, but limited today. And quite honestly, I mean, I think he brought Mike White in to kind of learn as quickly as he can. And you would, if you're not going to need your backup quarterback week 1. Let's put it that way. That's the hope, at least. So probably safe to say that Mike White is your guy. Let Trubisky heal completely.
Yeah, I would think that would be the course of action. So your Bills headlines there. Oh, they're going to wear the blue jerseys.
Blue jerseys.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like the blue jerseys, white pants. Good look. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm alone on when the Bills wear the white jerseys and the blue pants on the road.
I like those too.
I like that. Yeah.
I don't like the blue on blue. I'm done with color rush. I'm done with blue on blue. I'm done with red on red. Give me the blue and the white, one way or the other. I'm okay with that. Team captain's name today as well.
Oh yes.
Where the Bills had count them 8 captains just last season. You have 2 this season, Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, the captains that are gone from last year, Diggs and Gabe Davis, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, Tyler Matakevich, Mitch Morse. Oh, wait, this guy's still here. Von Miller. Von Miller not named a captain today. So I think there's a little bit of misdirection here on this, Danger, that yes, Von Miller, with what happened or what didn't happen, regardless, that's not very captain-like to be involved in something like that. And sure, he has a spot on this team, but to put him out there with the C, I thought that would have been a little unsavory. So, but he's on the roster. So Von Miller not a captain this year after being one last year.
Oh, I imagine he's one of the, what did they say, 10 or so members as part of the Players Leadership Council?
We don't know who's on this leadership council. Do they get together by Zoom, and do they determine what the holiday party is going to be here?
I imagine that they're working hard on some Kahoot trivia questions for their next team meeting. as an icebreaker. You want to kind of get everybody engaged. A little game of Bills trivia. So Von Miller working on his Kahoot questions. You got Taron Johnson probably like deciding, guys, are we bringing are we going cupcakes to celebrate anniversaries this year? Are we going to do a cake? What are we bringing to the next team function? Leadership Council.
What are you talking about, leadership council? You're all professionals.
You're athletes.
I
hear leadership council. Like, no, I don't want you to be like what we are. I don't want you to be like what the regular man is. What we have to deal with. We come into work like the movie Office Space, and they're singing "Happy Birthday" unenthusiastically to the jerk boss.
When I heard the Bills name just 2 captains, I'm like, wow, they actually get it. No, but you're not a captain, but you're on the leadership council. Okay. What are we doing here? Whatever.
Yeah, the leadership council gets to decide, what yard games they want to play when they do the team picnic.
Oh, also, too, Danger, say what you want about Diggs. You can't question the guy's worth. But was he captain like last year? I think not.
What we didn't talk about this. What was he saying in his GQ article, that he was in the worst mental space of his career in 2023?
Yeah, he's pointing to the offensive coordinator change. And although he didn't say Joe Brady by name, the GQ article, a lot of it was, well, when you would expect out of GQ. It's Steph Diggs here, and he goes to the Met, and there was some exclusive thing in Italy he went to, and he's, and it goes into his story. Part of his story is that he lost his dad at 14, and he had to, things that you knew but you might have forgotten about. So it gives you kind of that context that Stephen Diggs is the self-made guy. Like, he had to kind of rely on himself at a very early age and help raise his brother. And with that, he's always kind of been one of these guys to point the course of his own direction. And when it came to the decision or how it all let Buffalo, he didn't point the finger at anybody specifically. Just said, "Oh, I wanted to shake it out." I think he was the way he phrased it, and he got out. So, no lies told in this. But I think the big takeaway for me is this: this came out when I saw it. I'm like, "Oh no, here we go. Been waiting for this. Got to do this the week one." I think we're over it.
Well, we are now, but when week 5 hits, we'll be talking about it again.
Well, at some point, will there be a quote or something like that?
And furthermore, what does the world look like when you get to week 5? What if the Texans only have 1 win when they get to week 5? If you look at their schedule, they could only have 1 win.
What is the line? It's fishy, the Texans and Colts. I think that the Texans are a road favorite, but I think it's only by 2.5, 3. Like, that looks like a sucker bet. No, Vegas knows. Like, that could be a trap for Houston week 1.
Yeah. And I think that the NFL demands parity. And because the NFL demands parity, every year a team that you expect to do well won't do well. And I think this year's victim of that is the Houston Texans. I don't see them getting 10 wins like they did last year. And I tell you, nobody's talking about Jacksonville. Nobody's talking about Trevor Lawrence. Nobody's talking about that team.
Because he's not good.
Nah.
You and I. See, it's funny.
We differ on this one.
We differ totally on this because I think Stroud is that guy. I think Stroud will be that guy. Trevor Lawrence is a turnover machine. We don't pay attention because it's sleepy old Jacksonville.
Jacksonville wins the AFC South, and Trevor Lawrence inserts himself into the MVP conversation. That's my bold prediction for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he's going to be that another year with Doug Peterson. We forget, like, that first year, you got to give him a mulligan on his first year in the NFL. It was with Herb. It was with Urban Meyer. Get out of here. Terrible. Just atrocious.
When we talk about worst losses for the Buffalo Bills,
it's a bad loss.
That was the one.
Yeah. and this is still a Jacksonville team that in London, I mean, like, that was a bad loss last year too. Bad loss last year. Just completely out-physicaled the Bills overseas. And you could say, oh, the travel this, travel that. Look, on the field is what matters. And on the field, the Bills sleptwalk through that game. Maybe the outcome is different another time, but I'm not going to sleep on Jacksonville. That the AFC South is low-key a good division. Even Tennessee, there's talent on that roster. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's talent on the roster, but you'd be furious if your Bears lose to them.
Furious.
Yeah, so.
I've already committed, by the way. I'm going to need some time off early October.
Oh, is that the Panther game?
Yeah, I've got my tickets. We're good.
I was going to say that's fully committed.
Fully committed.
What is the date on that?
The game is October 6th, I want to say.
Okay, that's perfect. Let me explain. Oh, you're going to be here that Friday, though.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
then it's the Monday coming back.
My daughter's traveling. She's in Atlanta that week, the end of that week. We have our commitments, right? We're Friday night rivals again on the CW Rochester, and we'll be doing our game on Friday night. I'm getting up early Saturday morning. She's going to fly from Atlanta to Chicago. I'm going to get up early, pick her up at the drive to Chicago, pick her up at the airport, and then we're going to go to the game on Sunday.
You're driving? How far is the drive to Chicago?
It's like 7-8 hours.
Huh.
Not too bad.
Okay.
I've done it a bunch of times. I can handle that drive. And if I change my mind at the last minute, I'll be like, what are the flights? And maybe I'll book a flight.
You know, driving on a weekend in the fall, it actually can be pleasurable because you can listen to the game, listen to college football.
Yeah.
Going around old style, figure out what you can find there.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. So, yes, that's happening. And you're right. I've made this commitment blindly, not knowing if this team is actually going to be as good as some people think they might be. And I'm not here telling you that they're going to be good. I'm here saying
Stop.
Beat Green Bay. That's all I can.
No. It's not about that. It's about, do you have the guy? Caleb Williams. Is this a good season for Caleb Williams? Yes or no? The end.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm telling you, this should be your expectation. Not beat Green Bay. That would be nice. Okay, but they're not a playoff team.
If he throws 30 touchdowns and throws for 3,900 passing yards.
Oh, my gosh. You haven't had anybody.
He's the best quarterback in Bears franchise history.
Fun fact, the Bears have never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a season.
That's right.
That's how bad your quarterbacking is.
That's right.
So that game, Carolina, crappy Carolina. Now, can you imagine everyone if they lose to Carolina?
No.
Danger will not come in.
No. And this is me exercising some demons as well. The last time I went to a Bears game at Soldier Field was with my old man when he was still with us.
Get the heck out.
We went to a playoff game. It was against the Panthers, and Jake freaking Delhomme, an Agent 89, ran all over the Bears, completely demolished them.
Oh, my God. I remember that game.
Heartbreaking. We were just devastated. We went in confident, cocky. We were popping off. And Carolina, we had no answer for Jake Delhomme. No answer for Steve Smith. Just all wide open all afternoon long.
Oh, my gosh.
It was devastating.
John Fox.
It was devastating.
John Fox.
It was bad. It was bad. So, yeah, that was the last Bears game that I was at Soldier Field. So it's been a second. It's been a minute.
That's like the old Soldier
Long time ago.
Yeah, that's
long time ago. So, yeah. So, anyways, yes, there's your Buffalo Bills notes, and I think we got everything from practice today. We got the Caps, we got Damar Hamlin, we got some Sean McDermott sound. Tomorrow the NFL season kicks off. Week 1, NFL kickoff. And to celebrate, Gino and I are taking the show on the road. We're going to Three Heads Brewing. You know the spot. Three Heads on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. And while you're there, we encourage you to check out the new Leaping Hazy IPA. This has become my new favorite hazy IPA. I've got plenty of favorites at Three Heads. This was introduced to me on Friday when I was there for the Spezzano and Sandy 25th anniversary party, and I love it. It's just chef's kiss. Leaping IPA. It soars above all others. The greatest beer label of all time. When you see it, you'll know what we're talking about. And our friends from Reservoir Dogs are going to be there serving up their all-beef Black Angus Franks and 6-ounce burgers on delicious DiPaolo rolls as well. We encourage you to check out the new Mafia Dog. It's served on a pretzel roll with, get this, buffalo chicken wing dip, blue cheese crumbles, applewood smoked bacon, fresh bruschetta, and scallions. All regular menu items named after characters from the Reservoir Dogs movie. So you got a Mr. Pink and Mr. White. I got to check that out as well.
Say that word again. I thought it was bruschetta.
No. I'm like Giada De Laurentiis. I like to overpronunciate my Italian words. It's bruschetta. Bruschetta. She just goes over. She goes hard on her pronunciation.
That's your dream girl, isn't it?
Giada De Laurentiis?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I'm with my dream girl. Stop it. Is that my dream girl? I just like how she overpronounces her Italian words. Bruschetta. 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 No. Bruschetta. That's our friends from Reservoir Dogs. They'll be there tomorrow afternoon as well. Three Heads Brewing, Atlantic Avenue. Gino and I live 3 until 6. We'll hang out a little bit afterwards, and we'll get ready for the NFL's kickoff week 1 as the Chiefs host the Ravens in a rematch of the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, a fantastic day tomorrow. Weather looks perfect. So the patio is open. Come on out, and Danger will be hanging out a little after the show, too.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Excited to meet Big Time Brian, the guy that you big timed at the St. John Fisher basketball game.
Big time him.
Absolutely big timed him.
I'm on the air. It'd be like if somebody came in right now. I can't talk, but I guess the hand gesture.
You shushed him like he was a toddler. Just shushed him away. No. I'm working here. We got to make right.
Well, I made right with Carlos. At least I think I did. I think I'm in good standing with Carlos.
Yeah, I think you and Carlos are fine. Looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow afternoon from 3 until 6. Let's take a break and come back. We've got a round of shots on the way here in the sports bar.
Yeah, as what's the money line for the Orioles White Sox game tonight?
Oh no.
Like, I remember talking to PJ Glasser, and he said, if it gets to 300, don't ever do it. It's not 300. I'll just kind of put it that way.
Okay.
We've got a Yankee update, and this one, that loss last night. Is there a change in the works for the New York Yankees? We will give you the latest there.
Hold on a second. And this is me being completely vulnerable, completely honest with you. I turned it off. They lost last night.
They did. Yeah, grand slam, Holmes. So that's
Holmes is a disaster.
Right. So what are we doing here?
Holmes is a problem.
Well, is it time? Are you pulling the trigger there? Also, interesting match tonight. Is this finally the year? I'm watching tennis tonight, Danger.
Oh, Pegula.
Pegula against Swiatek tonight.
Okay.
We'll preview this. And why this may finally be the time for Jessica to get ahead.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
What's her record in this quarterfinal?
Yeah!
0-6.
Okay. We'll get to that and more next. We have time for your calls. Last call on the way before 6 o'clock at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. A round of shots on the Fan.
practice today getting ready for Arizona, where head coach Sean McDermott announcing that DeMar Hamlin will start at safety next to Taylor Rapp. McDermott also announcing who the captains are.
Captains-wise, I know that's for some of you a question that you'll want to know the answer to. So our captains this year, helping lead our football team, will be Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard, and then around them will also be placed a leadership group or council of 10 other players, which will help lead our football team.
Bills are healthy, not practicing today. Javon Solomon, Mitchell Trubisky was limited. Everyone else good to go. Rochester Red Wings with one of their alter egos tonight. The Coco Locos hosting Worcester. They're in the ninth in Toronto. The Phillies leading the Jays 4-2. Kyle Schwarber with his 32nd of the season. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
From the field to the court to the rink, the sports leader is there. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Happy hour continues on the Fan. You're in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia with a round of shots.
The Baltimore Orioles tonight, Danger, are minus 360 on the money line. They look for the sweep of the White Sox. Baltimore up a half game in the AL East on the Yankees. We'll get to more than the Yankees here in a second. As for the White Sox, they're now at 109 losses on the season.
Come on, boys. We want greatness here. We don't want to settle for just kind of bad. We want the worst of all time. How many losses?
109.
9 times.
Yeah, that is outstanding. Tonight for the White Sox, should they lose, that would make it 13 in a row.
Another double-digit losing streak.
Interim manager, I'm going to throw some numbers here, just how bad this team is. It was back on August 8th. Grady Sizemore takes over. Okay, I remember him as a player. How bad could this be? He's got to be wondering, what the hell am I doing here? His record since he took over, 3-20.
Yikes.
This stat is even more incredible, Danger. Since the All-Star break, the White Sox are 4-38. Seems like they're going to be a lock to break the record of 120 losses in the season.
So they're at 109 right now?
109.
So, yeah, 11 more losses. They got this.
This is in the bag.
They got this. Fantastic. Well done. And I know I was questioning like that image of the ballpark where there was an announced attendance of 17.
Yeah.
I'm like, that ain't real. That can't be real. No, I think that was real. Like, I don't think anybody, they're done, man. This is
why would you go?
This is brutal. It's embarrassing. I want relegation in Major League Baseball. Get these guys out of here.
They're talking about expanding baseball. I'm all for that, Danger. Like bring in a second tier there. There is one concerning thing for the Yankees, who, as we mentioned, are not in first place. It's their bullpen. Clay Holmes blowing his 11th save of the season. That's the most in the majors this season.
At what point do you say like, oh well, maybe this is the time he'll turn around? What time do you actually say like, yeah, no, it's not going to turn around. He's just not the dude.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you went to bed and the Yankees were up. They actually lost that one last night. Manager Aaron Boone wouldn't answer the question if he's ready to make a change, saying, well, he didn't want to answer the question while everyone was, quote, raw and emotional.
Sure.
Marcus Stroman trying to turn things around tonight in Arlington, Texas, countering with the former Yankee, Nathan Eovaldi.
Okay.
I love the panic that comes in college football after one loss. I guess that's true in the NFL, but in college football, Danger, Florida Gator fans not at all happy. They got their butts kicked by Miami to the point where they got the meme treatment, a Gator player pulling a Homer Simpson and disappearing into a bush in that loss.
Yeah, I saw that.
Billy Napier is the head coach of the Gators, and he's got a message for the haters. Quote, if we can focus on those things and not want some guy in his basement in rural Central Florida saying on social media, then we got a chance to be better.
Why even acknowledge it? You're already admitting that it's in your kitchen. Just don't even acknowledge it. I mean,
there's something in that quote, though, Danger. You being a future resident of Florida, you would know.
Oh, Mickey Mouse?
No,
ESPN,
I'll read this
Disney?
again. If we can focus on the things that not some guy in his basement in rural Central Florida.
Rural Central Florida.
There's no basements in Florida.
Oh.
So that would kind of
okay.
Yeah, way to go there.
The urgency with the college football season is exquisite, though. I mean, you lose one game and you're already off this guy. if you're a Gators fan, you're like, get this bum out of here. He's 0-1. I mean, you can turn the season around and get some wins. You're not going to be, maybe you're not in the playoff, but you're gone. You're done.
One of the talking head shows, like, who could come back? Urban Meyer, discuss. Deion Sanders, would he actually come? Like, no.
This is where they are.
One game.
It's where they are. But it matters that much because the way you lost in Miami looks good. But, the way they lost. And I would say the same thing for LSU. Like, LSU, same thing. There are people that follow LSU. They're going to be like, Brian Kelly is not the dude.
Here's what it is, Danger. And you don't have to go back that far. Georgia is that's the program everyone envies. How are they so good? How are they getting everything? Florida looks they should be better than Georgia. I love myself some SEC talk.
Yeah, no, it's
fun.
good.
Yeah.
Carson Beck looks like an NFL quarterback playing the college game. I mean, watching him dice Clemson, just throwing missiles against Clemson was fantastic. I don't see anybody beating Georgia, man. They look too good.
PJ Glasser will join us tomorrow in the sports bar.
Sweet.
We'll go over some picks there for you, not just in the NFL, but certainly college football. It was 2 years ago that Jessica Pegula and Iga Swiatek met in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open, Swiatek winning in straight sets. And since then, they've actually met in a non-major event 4 times. And they've actually split, believe it or not, including the Canadian Open. So it's not impossible to think that Pegula could win tonight. How's this for a nugget, though, Danger? On Jessica Pegula, she's going to make history one way or another tonight. If she were to defeat Swiatek, she would become the oldest American woman to make her first major semifinal.
Okay.
She's 30. If she were to lose...
She's 30?
She's 30.
Wow.
If she were to lose... she would tie the record for most Slam quarterfinal appearances without reaching the semifinals by a woman in the Open era.
So you got that going for you, which is nice.
Yeah, 0-7.
I'm still kind of like, I guess she's been doing this a while. We've been doing this a while because I'm struggling with her being 30. And if she wins, she's the oldest American to reach her first major semifinal. That's the stat.
It's not even the final. We're just talking about the semifinal.
Yeah.
And you're the 6th seed, it just doesn't add up. You would figure at some point the bracket would just kind of go your way and other people would be out. I find this interesting. I am watching this tonight. I'm watching this over baseball tonight. And I'm also watching, if she wins, is there any congratulations from the social media feeds from the other teams that are kind of related to her?
Oh, you saying the Bills? Will anybody recognize?
I was yeah. I
still contend that ever since she did the Players Tribune piece, which documented the struggles of what her mother Kim has gone through since her medical event, that things have been icy. She's almost shut out.
It was also, too, in that piece that she wanted to follow in her mother's footsteps and take over at some point. Okay. Is that your decision to say out loud?
Did you run by the old man? You run that idea by Terry?
Did you run that by your other half-sibling who actually has a piece of the team right now?
Yeah.
And Kim's kids don't.
Yeah, it's a little hey, look, family can be complicated. And then when you mix in billions of dollars and sports franchises, I'm sure they'll be able to work it out in some rational way. She is a loving family, I'm sure.
Finally, Friday, we were so focused on Thursday night, right? It's the AFC Championship game rematch, Ravens and Kansas City. It's going to be good to be back, right? Friday's going to be a little different. Eagles, Packers in Brazil. Players have been given some do's and don'ts about going down to Brazil. They're being advised to stay in their hotel room.
Yeah.
Some players are not bringing their families. A.J. Brown, quote, "I'm just trying to win a game and come home."
Good.
NFL reporters, by the way, too, Danger, they're going to have to use a workaround. If you're one that loves to watch and get some updates there, X, formerly Twitter, is actually banned in Brazil.
Right. And I've seen people go as far as to say that the NFL should the players should ban this game. They shouldn't go to this game because this is a country that, doesn't allow free speech. I'm like, look, this is business, man. This isn't political. This is them going down there because they feel like there's an opportunity for them to grow the game, make money. And I'm sure when it's all said and done, the game itself will be fine. The stadium will be packed.
You will kind of forget about it.
Yeah, and you'll just kind of forget that they're playing in South America for the first time. And I'm with AJ Brown. Just go down there, try to win a game, and come back home. It's a business trip.
And here's another fun fact. Thursday night, we get to watch it on NBC. Friday, this is our first streaming exclusive.
Peacock
on Friday night.
Yeah, get ready for that. There's a lot of that going on this season. The Netflix Christmas games did they decide who's going to call those games yet? Have they come up with a plan?
I haven't seen anything.
What's Netflix production crew, and what's their production budget like? Are they renting somebody's production crew or somebody's production budget to stream those two games on Christmas?
Christmas Day. Look, I can't even wrap my mind around that, Danger. I'm sorry, buddy.
They'll be here before you know it, Gene.
I know you're looking for it, too. You're Mr. Christmas there.
Oh, yeah, sure. Kick the tree to the curb December 26th before noon. That's me.
Beat it.
Get out of here. Hit the bricks, pal, because you are going out. There's a round of shots for you in the sports bar. I don't like Jessica Pegula's chances tonight, by the way. I'll tune in as well, but not to be a downer. I'm just like, she hasn't done it before.
If she doesn't do it tonight, then when?
Forget it.
Then when?
Forget it, man. I mean, the best opportunities have already passed her by.
Well, it's really unfortunate because the best coaches money could buy can't buy a championship.
Yeah. Complete privilege on display there.
Yes.
Too bad. We'll get to a round of we'll get the last call next. That was a round of shots here in the sports part. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you want to have the final say. We'll tee you up for tomorrow afternoon show. It's going to be a special one. Our guests and our appearance live from Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue. That's all coming up here on the Fan Rochester.
Fan, Rochester.
Got a special afternoon to tell you about tomorrow in the Sports Bar. We'll let you know who's stopping by and where we will be to kick off the NFL 2024 season. Week 1 gets underway tomorrow night in Kansas City with the Ravens visiting the Chiefs. A rematch of the AFC Championship game. It is last call at 866-4326.
We welcome in John in Rochester. Hello, John.
What are you doing, you Spartan, you?
Hey, guys, I'm getting really pumped up for Sunday. I got to tell you, I'm pumped up about a lot of the team, but running back, James Cook, Ty Johnson, and Ray Davis. I'll tell you, those three of those guys could rule the NFL in rushing. What do you think?
Rule the NFL in rushing. That's what Sean McDermott would love. He would love this call. Like if the Bills became now, if you have Josh Allen, that shouldn't be the plan. I'll give you a half credit on this one, John. That this Bills running core, because they each have a little bit of a different skill set, right? They have the potential to kind of drive the engine here and at least be a good plan B if Josh Allen's A game isn't working.
I also think to myself, when I look at how they construct their backfields, and this isn't exclusive to this year, they never really, I mean, there's always a guy who you consider, quote unquote, the lead back, but that lead back never dominates in terms of share. Like there's always a share. There's always a split. Like
it was never Devin Singletary all the way through.
That's
right.
right.
So it's never been the guy. And even with Cook, if like Cook puts the ball on the turf, I mean, okay.
I just think even if he doesn't put the ball on the turf, they're going to find ways to incorporate Davis and Johnson because they're not going to give a running back a majority share. They don't want to give that position any leverage to somewhere down the road say, pay me. I want to be the league's highest paid running back. And James Cook, for him to be able to say that, is going to have a remarkable season, certainly better than what we even saw last year.
Well, I like Johnson a lot. I think he's a dark horse, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Wow, John.
And of course, Ray Davis.
John, you are not in midseason form. I appreciate the call because I thought for sure he would go with man, they should promote Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah.
Frank Gore Jr.
You let us down, John. We expected you to come at us with a practice squad guy. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe at some point he gets that elevation and we see Frank Gore Jr. What a great story that would be for the Buffalo Bills.
Frank Gore Sr. on the sideline.
Yeah.
John, hope to see you tomorrow and everybody at Three Heads Brewing.
Going to be fun. Three Heads Brewing, the new Leaping Hazy IPA. This is the IPA you want to enjoy with your favorite team all football season long. It has the greatest beer label of all time. Go see it for yourself tomorrow when Gino and I are live at Three Heads Brewing in the neighborhood of the arts on Atlantic Avenue from 3 until 6, and our friends from Reservoir Dogs will be there as well. All their menu items are named after characters from the movie Reservoir Dogs, a Tarantino flick. It's one of my favorites. A little graphic, a little violent, but if you know, you know. Mr. Pink, Mr. White, blah, blah, blah. We'll get to Reservoir Dogs and Three Heads tomorrow afternoon starting at 3, and it's not just about kicking off the NFL. And we're welcoming in our nemesis into the sports bar tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, Jay Benkley, got to get the station. They're on the FM now. 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City will be joining us. They're also on 610. You can listen to Jay in the Odyssey app. He hosts the Chiefs post-game show, and I'm sure he's going to love it if Xavier Worthy makes a play.
I hate that I bring it up, man, but I think to myself, Andy Reid would like to show off his new, especially with Hollywood Brown already being ruled out. He's out. Yeah, Xavier Worthy could be a painful watch if you're a Bills fan wishing demise on the Kansas City Chiefs and on that pick specifically.
Yeah, I'm not so upset about the punter. He's a punter, but Worthy might sting a little bit.
That's right. Arises on the tee. I almost forgot about that. Yeah.
We will also be talking to PJ Glasser. He had other responsibilities today, but he's happy to join us tomorrow. We'll preview some of these lines and talk about how you could possibly take advantage of both the NFL and the NCAA. PJ Glasser, BetQL, the Send It In show, joining us tomorrow.
And if you listened to PJ last Wednesday when we did our college football preview and he gave you his best bets for the weekend, if you tailed PJ, you made some money last weekend. I'm only speaking as somebody who tailed PJ and made some money last weekend.
Hopefully you heard us zero in on, wait a second, North Dakota State.
Oh, no, not the
is
Bison.
7-0 all time
against
a D1, and sure enough, Colorado didn't cover.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that game. Man, that game just set a tone for the weekend. I loved watching that game because it went exactly the way you kind of thought it would go, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're going to hold on to the ball. They're going to keep it out of Shedeur Sanders' hands. They're going to try and run clock. And they did all of those things. And, Colorado was just too much. But they were able to keep it close and get a late touchdown to cover. And Bison making me some money. I was happy about that on Thursday. So we'll get more winners when PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In, stops by the sports bar. That's tomorrow at 3:25. And again, we will be live from Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. We invite you to come out, enjoy one of those new Leaping Hazy IPAs.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Which I understand the word on the street is it pairs beautifully with a Reservoir Dog from our friends at Reservoir Dogs, including that new the new Mafia dog. Looks amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll check that out as well. That's all tomorrow here on The Fan Rochester. Hope you enjoy your night. We've got the JR Sport Brief on the way next. AM 950 and 95.7 FM, The Fan Rochester.
Happy 25, Joel.
Oh, happy anniversary. Gee, don't bury the lead, Gee. You and the executive producer. Adorable. See you at Three Heads tomorrow.